you have been committed for sentence, having pleaded guilty to an offence of publishing written material which is threatening, abusive, or insulting, intending thereby to stir up racial hatred. The context of your offending is that it arises out of the civil unrest and disorder in many parts of the United Kingdom. On the night of the 2nd and 3rd of August, the Britannia Hotel in Leeds was attacked by people who threw missiles which damaged windows.
Missiles. I need to know what that means in Brit talk.
Police were called, and on the 3rd of August, the hotel was locked down for the protection of those who were living there. At the time, there were 210 occupants, many of whom were foreign refugees and asylum seekers. Similar attacks to the hotel were launched on the 4th of August. The police attended on each occasion, and units were deployed to safeguard the hotel.
This guy gives off psychopath vibes.
In the police presence in the area. In between the two attacks, you took to social media.
And what did you say, sir?
In order to encourage others towards participation
in a protest. In the attacks, because you've called them an attack. Yes, yes.
As is recognized on your behalf, this offence is so serious.
As recognized on your behalf.
Immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please?
This is straight out of A Nightmare.
The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months.
Look at those eyes. Look at those eyes right there. Hold on.
Serve up to 1/2 of your sentence in custody.
Look at those eyes right there. Look at this.
The sentence is one of 20.
There. That is raging psycho. I was trying to read this guy's eyes. You know, is he an unwilling player in all of this? Is someone pulling the strings and saying, Judge, this is the order you have to bring down? Maybe. That is, in my view, pure psychopathic evil in his eyes. Am I allowed saying that in England?
20 months imprisonment. You will serve up to 1/2 of your sentence in custody before you are released on license. If you fail to abide by the conditions of your license, you can be returned to prison to serve some or all of the remainder of the custodial term. The victim surcharge will apply, and I will make a collection order.
It's literally the stuff of nightmares. So you watch that and you say, this would be out of a horror movie where a guy is sentenced to 20 months for having gone online and said, let's just even say he said, go to the protest or go to this location where people are protesting. It's unfathomable. This didn't occur a year ago, and they had full exploration, disclosure of evidence. Maybe he had time to find his own lawyers. I don't know what lawyers this guy found. This happened on August 7th, I think. What's it? It's the 10th today. This happened at the latest August 7th, and maybe last Saturday, a week ago. Within a week, charged, compelled to plead guilty. I mean, look, Otto Warmbier in North Korea was begging for forgiveness. Voluntary admission of guilt. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. And not the sentence, maybe the sentence after we have seen the evidence, after he's had an opportunity to get counsel. Due process cannot happen within 5 days, period. What we are witnessing is an absolute violation of due process. We are witnessing England turning into North Korea in real time, and the scowling stare of a psychopathic judge as he sentences a man to 20 months in jail for online posts. Tommy Robinson is going to shed some light on it for us. Okay. Share the link around, people. Tommy's up in the backdrop here, and we're going to just say they want to prosecute us over here. Come extradite us. That's phallus with your own labor. Those magistrates' hair is worse than yours. Mine's real, at least, people. All right, I'm bringing Tommy, and I see him laughing here. Tommy, sir, how goes the battle?
How goes the battle? This is the government sending a clear message to everyone to shut up, stay in your lane. We will replace you. We will flood your nation. We will take away the security and the safety of your daughters. And if you dare to speak about it, we'll put you in prison. That's just one example. Do you know the sad thing about this is a show trial. You know, in America and in Canada, you may have live and televised viewings like this of judges. We've never had this. We don't have this. Yeah. So when trials are going on of rapists or killers, we don't see the judges like this. You don't see it. Cameras, in fact, aren't allowed into our courtrooms. So this is all done, all orchestrated to send them to jail very quick, very fast, to quell any uprising of the British public, which is what you were witnessing, is an uprising of the British public who have been ignored, forgotten, and neglected, and having their communities destroyed and their families targeted by hostile men that have been invited in. When he says the words missiles, what he means is a stone. So someone threw a stone at the hotel. That's what he means. Not great, whoever threw the stone, but the man's got 20 months in jail with a third off, so that means he was getting, what, 3 years? So you're saying he was getting 3 years in prison? Well, we've got case after case, and I'll give you an example. 3 women went to court and they pleaded not guilty to terrorism because they glorified and supported Hamas by celebrating the paraglider attacks on October 7th. So they went to court and they pleaded not guilty. Now, when you plead guilty, you get a third off. If you plead not guilty and you get found guilty, you're meant to get slammed. They pleaded not guilty. They went to court. They got found guilty. The judge gave them a conditional discharge, which means not even a fine. A Muslim judge, of course, let them go home. A man went to bingo with his wife. They walking through town. This demonstration was going on. He gestured aggressively at the police. He got 26 months in jail. There's no allegation of him committing any crime or violence. He gestured aggressively at the police. They set their dog on him. So on the camera footage, he gets bit by a police dog. They then imprisoned him for 26 months yesterday, and they imprisoned his wife. So this is tyrannical, but the purpose of this is to send a clear message to everyone. Yeah, we'll do what we want. We don't care about your rights. They have just released rapists, killers, child rapists from our prisons 3 weeks ago. There was when Labour took over, they said the prisons are full. We need to release some space. We need to release some prisoners. They let go of one of the grooming gang members who had raped children. They let go of all these people to fill the prison places with people who posted hurty words on Facebook, said a few mean words, did they, on social media? Don't get me wrong, whatever he said, if he said things that's definitely incited violence, but the story being that this has happened in 3-4 days, and across the country, you're televising and pumping this in as propaganda, which is what we've seen for 7 days. Viva, I don't know if you've followed all of this, yeah? The manipulation by the media in this, and the government and the police, has been absolutely insane to anyone who's watched what's going on.
I've watched, I mean, I've been following it a bit since your charges for terrorism before you were on with Russell Brand. I just want to bring this up because like people have to see this. When you say they're televising this and it's not normal under UK law, or it hasn't been precedent, Northam's police, I mean, I see these one after the other. 26-year-old man sentenced to 2 years and 2 months in prison after he pleaded guilty to publishing written material to stir up racial hatred. That happened, if I took the screen grab, on August 7th. None of it can make any sense. But I mean, I guess you're gonna have to back us all the way up to the beginning in terms of what stirred this up. There was the recent stabbing to death of 3 young girls doing Swiftie dances somewhere, and I think that's what sort of started to trigger all this.
Viva, how long we got?
As long as you've got, Tommy.
Right. So, because we need to rewind way past that, yeah, to understand why the British are angry. So to understand why the British are angry, there was a conspiracy of silence from one end of our country to the other to prevent the public being aware and prosecute any groups of Muslim men who were prostituting, raping, pimping, and even killing young girls across our whole country, young English girls. Now, that came out in 2015, a Rotherham report made aware that 1,400 children in the small town of Rotherham had been raped, prostituted by Pakistani Muslim gangs. The inquiry found that the police knew the whole time, but the police were scared of being branded racist, so they just sacrificed 1,400 English children because they don't want to get deemed as racist, of course, yeah? We'll let the kids get raped. We'll let the Muslims do what they want. As we've seen, everyone now sees this, yeah? I started my activism in 2004. In 2009, I set up the English Defence League, where we as an organisation brought these problems to the forefront and made sure that they couldn't hide them any longer. That's pretty much why I was hated from the start. Because once one domino fell, they all started falling. They had to look at these gangs. The public was screaming, demanding for them. 65 cities, we've now had prosecutions of large groups of men 30 men in one town, 40 men. But I'll just give you the scale of the problems so the people listening understand. I've done a 5-part series called The Rape of Britain, where I spent 12 to 18 months with women who have survived these gangs. And I've done a police-style investigation. I picked the town of Telford, one small town in the UK. Telford has a 1.7% Muslim population, which is why I picked it. My hometown's 50%. Some cities are 40, 50, 60%.
Did you say 50, 50 or 15?
No, 50. My hometown's 45 mosques. When I was born in 1982, there was one. There's now 45. Yeah. My cousin was a victim of these gangs. I know so many girls I grew up with who were victims of these drug prostitute gangs, pimped, raped, passed around hundreds of men, and the police done nothing. Yeah. Now, these would sound like horror stories. You wouldn't think they're true. It's totally true. It's been accepted in Telford, in Rotherham, in Rochdale, in Manchester, in Oldham, in Oxford. The reports show all those police forces, all the institutions that were there to protect the children, all of them fully aware of what was going on. Whistleblowers tried to talk out. They lost their jobs. They were silenced. They were crushed. And the police allowed this to continue to a point of boiling point. So you have to understand what we've watched as the British public and what we know as the British public. So we know that the Muslim community have been treated very differently. Anyone growing up in a Muslim town like Luton, I've seen it firsthand. What now has become part of British vocabulary, two-tier policing, I've watched my whole life. So I've gone back, and I've done it in my last documentary. I've gone back to me talking in 2004, saying two-tier policing. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, all the time I've been saying two-tier policing, they get away with it. Now, since October 7th, the public have seen very evidently two-tier policing, because since the terrorist attack in Israel, groups of men and hundreds of thousands of them in our capital city have been allowed to march week in, week out, desecrate our war memorials, burn British flags, hold the flag of Hamas, hold the flag of ISIS, support openly, call for the gas and the Jews. One example, I'll give you an example now, which I dug up today on my Twitter. Hizb ut-Tahrir, a prescribed terrorist organisation in most Arab nations, yeah, and some European nations. The leader of Hizb ut-Tahrir stood on the streets of London and demanded Muslim armies rise up, jihad, jihad, jihad. We all need to participate in jihad. Now, at the time, people like us highlighted his speech and said he's supporting terrorism. And the Metropolitan Police Force come out and made a statement saying there's different meanings to the word jihad. Yeah? They supported him. They said that no criminal activity had happened. This is a Muslim calling for holy war in the streets of our capital city under the banner of Hizb ut-Tahrir, calling for armies. There's no mistake. He's not calling for a struggle. He's calling for armies. Muslim armies was his words. So we've watched that. We've seen Muslims getting aggressive and getting violent. And every time we see it, the police run away. We've not one of those pro-Palestinian rallies or pro-Hamas rallies, whatever you want to look at them as, not one of them saw police with riot shields and batons or horses or dogs. Yeah, they were literally given free rein. Now, November 26th come, which is Armistice Day. It's a day that we hold dear, where we recognise the sacrifice our armed forces have given. And for the months prior to this, we've watched in anger and frustration as Muslim mobs have took over and desecrated war memorials. The things that we find sacred, that are there to respect our nation, have been climbed on, spray painted and desecrated. So some of the people organising the rallies, and remember these rallies have been organised by pro-terrorist and pro-jihadist groups in our capital. It's become a no-go zone for Jews. It's been an absolute carnival of hate for months and months, and everyone's watching it. So we're all talking, everyone's talking online, looking at going, how come the police aren't dealing with this? How come support of a prescribed terrorist organisation in the UK carries a 14-year prison sentence? Yeah? I'll just give you the example of the 3 women who were convicted. They didn't get anything at all, nothing, sent home. See you later, girls, off you go, yeah? So we're watching all this play out, and as we're watching it play out, at the same time as this is going on, a lad put stickers up saying whites will be a minority. Now, this is a lad I don't like, yeah? Part of a group I don't like, they don't like me. But he put up stickers saying whites will be a minority and give a year, 2070 or something, in Britain. Now, the white population of London is now 33%. Within 30 years, it's gone from 70% to 33%. What he was drawing the facts are, at the current immigration crisis levels of open borders, whites will be a minority. So that sticker is factually correct, yeah? He got 2 years in prison. He was sent to jail for 2 years, yeah? So we're watching all these different things. Bunny Crean was a young lad who put a bacon sandwich outside a mosque. He got 2 years in jail. He never come out of jail because he got killed in jail. He died in prison. So I'm giving you an example to understand what we're watching develop in our nation.
And just stop for 1 second there. This is not new to me because I've been following this and following you for a long time. The guy put a ham sandwich out in front of a mosque as a troll. It was deemed to be an act of hate. He went to jail, was sentenced for 2 years, and died and or was killed in jail.
Died in jail. Died in jail.
Okay.
Died in jail, never got out released. So I went to his funeral because his family requested I go to his funeral because he was a supporter of mine. So we're watching all this. The public are watching all this. We're seeing totally new laws. We're seeing hate laws are literally only used against native Brits. Yeah. So anyone can sit on a black person, an Asian person, anyone can sit on TV and make blatantly racist remarks. They can sit online and do it, and there's no prosecutions. There's no. Me as an example, I've had hundreds of people in my latest documentary, Silence. A man makes a video saying he's going to murder my children. No arrests. Yeah. I've had a man today, a Somali man, saying he's going to kill me. There won't be an arrest. There might be in a minute of high intentions, but there's no arrests. I've given hundreds and hundreds of threats like this that are far worse than what these people are being sent to jail for. So people who follow the story know there's a two-tier policing. On the 26th of November...
Hold on. Oh, sorry. Actually, let me stop you there just to pull up one quick tweet here. The Telegraph here. This.
We're going two-tier policing to that.
So that's a UK police officer. I don't know what they're.
No, that is the commission. That is the head police officer of the Metropolitan Police Force, Mark Rowley. That is the man in charge of the two-tier policing that is being enforced upon our public in London.
He's grabbing the mic.
Criminal damage. That's criminal damage. He just grabbed someone else's property and threw it on the floor because he didn't like the question about two-tier policing.
It's gangsterism. It's just gangsterism. Mob, I mean, it's not mob like a mad mob, like a gangster mob. Say, yeah, I take your shit and I throw it on the ground. Now I'm not taking your questions. You work for me, not vice versa. It's atrocious. It's
atrocious. And so 26th of November comes. We've watched all this, and I wish, yeah. Bearing in mind I'd been out of the country, my activism had slowed down. I wasn't, and Elon Musk just before this, give me back my X account, yeah, just before this. So I'd been out in Spain. I was in Spain, get my X account back, watching all this going on. Getting angered. So I come back to the UK and I say, you know what? On the 26th of November, you're not going to desecrate our war memorials, and you're certainly not coming near our monuments when the soldiers are there. So I made a video basically saying to the British public or lads, we can't rely on the police to do this. We've seen them allow them to do it. Police have stood by as they're desecrating war memorials and held their hands and let them to help them down. We've seen criminality after criminality and no arrest. The police have just stood there. Terrorist flags, anything, swastikas, anything, police have stood there. Light-handed, they won't go into the mob because they know they'll get attacked, yeah? So they let them break the law week in, week out. We're all watching. Then we organised, so 26th of November, I said, called on British men to turn up in London. About 4,000 lads turned up. And when we got to where the 2-minute silence is, which we were all walking down as a massive group, and do you know what? I wish we didn't have to do that. But the disrespect is not being shown on this day at our war memorial. Muslims are not going to climb up it today. Yeah. So unfortunately, if the police ain't going to stop them, the men of England will come and stop them. So lads come down, and the police, as we get to the cenotaph to pay respects, the police are there with their batons, and they blocked us, and then they caused a massive confrontation. So after this incident, which went viral everywhere online, the public support for us went through the roof. Because people are saying, hold on a minute, why is this differently policed? Why are the police getting all brave now and heavy-handed and they were smashing people in hitting them with batons? When we haven't seen one incident of that for the last 2 months, where we're seeing demonstrations daily, certainly weekly. So everyone's watching that play out. And then, obviously, at this point, I kept saying publicly, I'm back in the UK. I then receive a letter. My solicitors receive a letter from the government. Now, the government warned me, and it doesn't say they can prosecute me, but they tried, I believe, to intimidate me. They warned me that they're looking at prosecuting me for contempt of court for a film I'd made 3 years ago. Yeah. So I made a film 3 years ago. It's the film that's now on 42 million views. It's the pinned film in my Twitter.
And I've shared the link, but let me see here. Silenced, unedited. I believe, I don't know how I get out of this. I've shared the link. This is the documentary. We talked about this the last time you were on. This is the documentary of the alleged hate crime on the Syrian refugee boy by a white kid, where they were pouring a bottle of water in his face, and they said it was a racist white kid waterboarding the Syrian refugee. Turns out the kid allegedly had not allegedly, but even confirmed in the documentary, had a checkered past in school, was a violent kid, a misogynist kid, a terrible kid. The incident was a retaliation for the kid saying he was going to rape the sister of the boy who was pouring water on his face. You make a documentary exposing all of this, get sued for defamation. You're not allowed to release the documentary or show it in court. Basically a wild judgment against you. And they say you cannot publish this documentary.
No, so I'm not allowed to publish it. And do you know what? I surrendered, which I never. When I went to court, so I produced all the evidence which proved their whole story, not just that they were wrong, but they knew they were wrong and they lied to the whole entire country about it. They totally reversed the whole story. It was manipulated, it was manufactured, and it was pumped with the world's media. Like the video didn't go organically viral. The video happens here. They do criminal record checks. They set up a GoFundMe a month later. The next day, the video is viral worldwide. £180,000 donated to the Syrian boy. They planned it. Yeah, I show that and then not just planned it, to make sure that the truth could never be told. They paid everyone, the council, the Muslim leader of the council, paid every member of staff at that school, including school governors, hush money, which I'm not calling it hush money. The teachers did in covert recordings when I spoke to them. They spent £274,000, Kirk Leeds Council, buying their employees' silence to make sure that the truth could never be told. They didn't just do that, they closed the school down. The head teacher never worked again from this incident. None of them did. Yeah. So I went and proved all this, put it to the judge. Here you go. Your whole story's a lie. Everything's a lie. Here it is proven. In fact, because I was getting sued for saying he threatened to stab someone. I said the Syrian boy threatened to stab someone. That's what they sued me for. The school records show he did stab someone. Yeah. In the school records, not my words again, school teachers. Yeah. Stabbed. I went and wore a covert camera and approached some of the children he stabbed, because he stabbed 5 that day apparently. Yeah. And the boy stays in his house, and the boy's mum saying, yeah, he stabbed him there and he drew blood. Then I get the school records which show he gets caught with a knife and screwdriver at school. So I can't possibly defame someone for saying he's threatening to stab someone when he is running around stabbing people. And also the law in civil cases like this is the law of probability. I don't have to prove it's 100% true. I have to prove that it's probably true. So is it probably true that the boy that runs around stabbing people and carrying knife and screwdrivers might have threatened to stab a boy? Yeah. Possibly. Yeah, it only has to be like that. So anyway, the judge rules against me. So I think, well, I don't really care, yeah? Because in the court of public opinion, you've lost this battle, because I've got all the evidence. I've made it into a film, but he knows I've made it into a film because I've sent the covert recordings. He then writes out and he says, basically gives an injunction that says, if you show any of the evidence that's been shown in here today, you get 2 years in jail. Now, 2 years in jail for me, bearing in mind, the last time I'd done jail, I'd done solitary confinement. And I come out terrible. I was in a terrible, terrible place mentally. And it took me ages to get myself back to normal from that. So it may sound stupid, sitting in a room for 23 and a half hours a day on your own for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever. You wouldn't think that could have that detrimental of an effect. It did. I went into prison one person, come out a totally different person. Yeah? Struggled to connect with my family, struggled to connect with anyone. Just struggled. So got myself back to where I am. Then I'm in court. As soon as the film went out, so basically the film 2 years ago was leaked, and I've been in possession of it. If I wanted to put it out, I could have put it out anytime. I never put it out because I was scared of going to jail. I was scared of the detrimental effect it would have on myself, but not just that. I've got 3 kids and my family. I'm thinking they can't go through this again for me to put the film out. But in hindsight, I failed myself as a journalist because I was in possession of evidence that proved corruption of the judiciary. So as I sat and watched for those 2 years, what went on, I saw the judiciary weaponised against Steve Bannon, against Alex Jones, £1 billion, against Donald Trump, against Katie Hopkins, they took a house, now against Lawrence Fox, nearly £2 million for speaking out. So I watched as the courts have been used to destroy person after person after person. And my story shows how they do it and proves that it's actually lies. So this is all going on. They send me a letter threatening me because I've organised a rally, yeah? So then I go and that's so the letter. I made a video basically saying my message to the Attorney General is fuck you, yeah? You're not actually going to intimidate me this time, yeah? So if I want to hold a rally, I'm going to hold a rally. It's my democratic right. Stop trying to intimidate me and scare me into not doing it. So what they do then is I go to report on an anti-Semitism rally in London, which is the biggest rally against, bearing in mind anti-Semitism and anti-Jew hatred is through the roof of our capital city every week. This is the first time people are coming out against that hate. So I go down as a journalist, I sit in a cafe, this all went viral, and police come into the cafe, I'm having a breakfast, you need to leave the capital city. You need to leave this area. Why do I need to leave this area? And this is, bearing in mind, if you're watching all of this, you're getting pretty frustrated with everything the police are doing, the inaction against crime, and then the overbearing action against people exercising their rights and freedoms. So unfortunately for them, I'm a journalist, yeah? They don't like that. I'm a journalist, you're not going to control what I say or how I say it, I'm going to give the truth. So I've gone down there, I'm in the cafe, you have to leave. Why do I have to leave? Well, your presence here may cause alarm and distress to people. So, i.e. Muslims will say. Yeah? Even though there was no Muslim demonstration, it's simply a demonstration against anti-Semitism, everyone there was supportive of me. So they just wanted to shut me up, gag me and make me leave the city. I said, well, alarm and distress. Our entire country has been caused alarm and distress for the last 3 months. And we've watched every day at home getting alarm and distress, furious at what you're allowing to happen, furious at your inability to enforce the law. So we go back and forward with the police. And he says, if you don't leave, we're going to make you leave. So I finish my breakfast in the cafe. I go out, start my job. They come. I mean, when they come, bearing in mind we've seen all these criminals, there must have been 30 or 40 of them. I'm on my own with my cameraman. And I'm like, what's going on, lads? And they said, and then they grabbed me, they manhandled me, they dragged me away. And all I'm saying is, I'm here to do my job.
The protest you organized, how many people showed up for it?
The first one was the 4,000. So this one here, I'm just reporting on it. I haven't organised it. I'm there as a journalist.
The first one, 3,000 or 4,000. Was there any violence committed by the attendees?
No, there was no opposition, just the police. There was a clash at this one with the police. So this wasn't, and this was, I say, it wasn't a protest. On this first one, which was 26th of November, I called on people to come and pay their respects during the 2-minute silence, and there'll be enough of us to prevent anyone coming and ruining it, yeah? So we didn't bill it as a protest, it wasn't organised as a march, it was literally, when I'd done my 2-minute silence, I watched the 2-minute silence, and then left London straight away. Got in a taxi and went, yeah? But in that process, the police were heavy-handed, videos of the police attacking people, all went viral. The next step is then this anti-Semitism rally, I'm detained. When I'm handcuffed with my hands behind my back, they pepper spray me from point blank range, yeah? This video goes viral worldwide. This had like 30 million views, yeah? So I'm arrested, and then all the comments underneath again are, you can do that to him. How come we haven't seen this treatment of any of them? Yeah, he was there to do his job. So and this was the first time actually, they made me toxic for years. Many of my critics were sitting on TV saying, he didn't break the law. I don't really like him, but hold on a minute, yeah? He hasn't broke a law. How can the police go in and do that? So when it come to bailing me, this is when it all become apparent. I spend a day in the cells, I get to go to bail, and they say, you're not allowed to enter London, yeah? And they give me bail conditions. So for 6 to 7 months, I was banned from my entire capital city and told if I step over a certain line, the M25 is a perimeter road that goes around not just London, it's way bigger than London. I wasn't allowed inside the M25 at all, yeah? So I then challenge these bail conditions and go to court, and everyone's watching this play out. I say, you haven't banned any terrorists. We got 40,000 jihadists on a terror watch list from our government. 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, £9 billion a year. Yeah, that's what it costs. None of them are banned from entering our capital city. You know they're a risk and you know they're in danger. That's the M25.
That's unbelievable. I don't have a scale here, so I don't know how many kilometers that represents.
It's massive. Like, the point is for this is, if the reason for me being at a demonstration, you could have given me bail conditions saying I'm not allowed into London or near within a perimeter of a pro-Palestinian rally, if that was the problem, if you think that was the problem, yeah? But what this was about was making sure that the one man that's going to galvanise people on the street can't come into the capital city. And then they prolonged it for ages. We appealed the bail conditions. It cost me £65,000 this year. We're fighting it, £65,000. I appealed the bail conditions, they said no. I took my daughter out. Now inside that big M25 area, my daughter, my youngest, is Luton Town Football Club mad, yeah? So am I, yeah? But she's Luton mad. It's her birthday. So I said, darling, what do you want to do for your birthday? She said, I want to go watch Luton Crystal Palace with my friends. I want to bring my friends. So I said, okay. I'm not allowed inside the M25, yeah? It's my daughter's birthday. I've missed their birthdays previously. So we went to TGI Fridays. I got a party bus, like a big bus for 12 young girls. I took them to a football match, yeah? No trouble. We had dinner, we went to the game. As I come back to the bus, afterwards, oh, they come from everywhere, police from everywhere. I said, lads, the purpose of your bail conditions is meant to be to prevent further disorder, yeah? I'm with 12 little girls, yeah? We've been on a family day out here, yeah? I put the videos up of us all singing happy birthday in a restaurant. They nicked me, they remanded me. They nicked me and they remanded me, yeah? So I'm remanded for 2 days. I end up getting back into court again, £10,000. And the judge, because when we tried to appeal the bail conditions the first time, they went before a judge and he said, no, you're not coming into London. And when I first sit down with my King's Counsel, he said, oh, they're never going to be able to have these bail conditions. When we get before a judge, they can't do this. They simply can't do it. How can they justify not being able to go inside the M25? There's no justification. Like you're free. Like if you want to go shopping in London, Christmas. So we've gone before the first judge. He says, not a chance. You're not coming into London. Just straight. I don't care. You're not coming into London. So we appeal them again to get before another judge. We go before the other judge. The judge looks at the paperwork and goes, oh, this can only be heard by the other judge. So it's like, why can it only be heard by the other judge? So they send us back to the other judge and he just sits and says, I've already told you, you ain't coming into London. And I said, okay, I want to take my children to the Christmas lights table. Yeah. And the comparison being here, would they stop a Muslim celebrating Eid? Yeah, they just wouldn't. So I said, I want to take my children. No, you can't. You're not coming into London. I said, all right, Sam. Gets to my daughter's birthday. So, like, I don't think I should ever had these conditions at all. And it wasn't just that. They then, where we said to the judge, well, I want to come in for work. Yeah, I'm a journalist. I've got people to interview. So then the judge who said no said, okay, you have to ask this police officer. And it was a Muslim police officer. I'm not joking. If you want to come into London, you have to contact him, who's part of some special squad within Metropolitan Police Force. You have to ask his permission. So I said, okay. And you'll see this on my last documentary. So I said, okay. So I contact him and say, I've got an interview planned with a member of Parliament, Andrew Bridgen. Yeah? Can I come into London for this? They said, you have to give us the phone number of who you're meeting, where you're meeting them, and when you'll be there. So I said, okay. I'll give them all this information. They contact them. They contact the organiser of the event. He says, yes, Tommy Robinson's coming as a journalist. He's going to do some interviews. And then they just say no. So 3 different things that week they said no. So I said, I haven't committed a crime. I wouldn't mind, but the video was so evident I hadn't committed a crime. My rights have been taken from me. Now, a total invasion of my privacy as a journalist and who I'm meeting, my sources, which should be protected from the police. Yeah. So all of it, this is all, and everyone's watching this play out because remember, I've got a social media again now. I can show them. So as we're playing through, I then get to court, and when they give me my court date, you see, I'll go to one of the court cases. They're setting a trial date, so they're setting their date for trial, and I'm messaging my solicitor. I'm in the dock, and I'm saying 23rd of April, and because we're having to pick dates that we can make. I said, please get me on the 23rd of April. So she's standing there, judge is there, and she says, and my solicitor says, look, we need it on the 23rd of April. We can all make it. All of our legal team can make it. 23rd of April. So he says, okay, 23rd of April, sets the date to 23rd of April. I start laughing. 23rd of April, St. George's Day. It's our national day to celebrate our identity as Englishmen, yeah? So I think I'm on trial on the 23rd of April. There's going to be thousands there because everyone takes the day off. You've put me in court. I'm before a judge. Now, they prosecuted me. They had all these bail conditions. When we got before a judge, he ripped them to bits. Everything they'd done from start to finish. Do you know the exclusion order that they gave me? They didn't even have one. So basically, they edited the paperwork after they'd arrested me to make the timing on the paperwork earlier. They didn't have an exclusion order. They arrested me under an exclusion order to say that they've got an exclusion zone that I'm not allowed to be in. So the judge is watching all this play out. The officer blamed on his dyslexia, the top officer. It was comical, but the difference is, Viva, where things have changed, is due to citizen journalism, due to X specifically, I had invited all the new citizen journalists. So the media wouldn't report the truth. So as they're sitting in, when the officer was asked in court, well, how can we trust if we're seeing now this? You didn't even have an exclusion order. And he said, no, we didn't. He said, so this has been edited to say that you did. Yes, it has. Yeah. So these words specifically, because the controlled media would never do this. So these words went viral all over. Now, Mayor Tussi's got 500,000 on YouTube. Paul Thorpe's got 200,000. Katie Hopkins has got 1 million on X. Lawrence Fox is at 500,000. All these people, the new media, it's going viral everywhere. Like the police officer stood up and said, we didn't have the legality to do it. So I'm sitting there thinking, they can't possibly prosecute me now. And the judge gives them the opportunity, just says, I think you need to speak to your team, like the prosecutor, which is the police, and you should cancel this case at this point. They come back and said, no, the police don't want to cancel the case. So they've carried on with the case. They have been in the judgment by the police officer. He ruins them. Yeah. So I get totally unfounded arrest, unlawful detainment, unlawful bail conditions. But what this was about, they don't care about any of that. This was about controlling any opposition to Hamas in our capital city. And I've been telling the police in the weeks prior to this, if I would have pleaded guilty, remember my offence here is a nothing offence. So if I would have pleaded guilty, it's a fine. Now, if I had pleaded guilty after one day, I could have gone straight to court and gone guilty. I'm allowed back into London. Yeah. But because I wanted to prove my innocence and their unlawfulness, it took 6 months, 7 months. So for those 7 months, and they know I'm not going to accept the charge. So for those 7 months, they've managed to get what they wanted, which was me banned from London. So what I told them is, you see, as soon as I'm allowed back in London, yeah, as soon as I am, lads, which is coming to an end soon because I'm in court next week, I'm going to do the biggest rally you've ever seen. Yeah, I'm coming to London, and so are all the British public.
But when were you arrested on charges of terrorism? That was about a month ago.
That was after. So we have the 1st of June event, which was our first event in London. First event, 30,000 people turn up.
That's when you play the movie Silence on the big screen, or no?
That's 27th of July. So this was the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're building, and then I make it public. So what I say is, we're building a cultural movement. A revolution is brewing. Yeah. And this is how we're doing it. And how we're doing it is through celebration of our identity, all the things they've took from us. Celebration of the family, celebration of our identity. And we're going to unify everyone. When I say everyone, every community, we want to unify them under the banner, and we want to make it cool to be British. Not ashamed to be British, cool to be British. So we've done the first event, it couldn't have gone better. Now, to get the first event, which was outside Parliament, we hired a big screen. It's never been done. They've never allowed it, yeah? But when I sat down with the police, I said, you've got 2 options here, lads. I'm either going to go to Tower Hamlets, and you can't stop me, which is the Muslim area, yeah, which I don't want to go to. I don't want to, yeah. But if I want to, I can have a static demonstration there. Now, I know that's going to cause a lot of problems. So I'm asking you here, right? We want to work with you, but we're not going to accept the 2-tier policing that we've witnessed. We're going to ask you to leave your police officers away from our demonstration, yeah. So, because at every demonstration there's been clashes. On St George's Day there were clashes. So just let us work. We will police ourselves. We will put our own stewards on. If there's any problems, we will detain people ourselves. Yeah, and we will make sure there's no violence and no problem. Because all the violence and problems comes from the police. So what we're asking is stay away. We'll have this celebration, and at this event we had music. We had a great celebration. 30,000. There wasn't one incident with the police. And at the end of the demonstration, I said to the Metropolitan Police Force, "Thank you for working with us to provide a safe environment for protests." Yeah, because if you just stayed away, which is what you need to do. There's no crime, so go away. You don't do it to them. So then we held the 27th of July. Now, the 27th of July, we picked Trafalgar Square. This ended up being, and this is why they're worried, yeah? So this is the backdrop to everything that's going on, because what they're doing now, these tyrannical measures, is because they know what's brewing. They've seen it, yeah? So on the 27th of July, 100,000 people turned up, yeah? In the biggest ever gathering of British patriots there's been. And not just that, but we unified so many. The cultures, the diversity of the crowd, everything they've tried to do. Now, what they want and what they wanted us to be and what they now want us to be is far-right thugs, yeah, wearing masks. Now, to prevent them being able to infiltrate, like on January 6th, or do any of this, what would have terrified them most is we put out the call. We had different football clubs there with influential groups of men, tough men. And what I said to people is, we're giving you a voice here. Yeah? 1 million people are watching live. The whole world is looking at Trafalgar Square, all around the world. So no one can say we haven't got a voice at the minute. Yeah? So I understand the anger and frustration and violence and things like that. But we've got a platform. Let us use it. Let us give you a vision of how we're going to challenge their authoritarian regime and their tyranny and challenge what's happening in our country. So, and our idea was, and we had a meeting, and they would have seen who was at the meeting. It was 20 very influential influencers. And the idea was, say like yourself, Viva, we all come together, all of us. And at the minute we were looking at Britain, but then we started saying, well, this is bigger than Britain. But we're looking at Britain. So we got the most influential people together and we said, let's agree on the principle of a pledge, a manifesto, a pledge of how we defend our culture and how we defend our country. being against cancel culture, being against sexualization of children. So they're just and I said, at the click of a button, if we combine all of us together, we've got the biggest reach in the world overnight, all of us. If we put out a video directed at culture, so politics can't solve the problem in the UK because Reform got 4.5 million votes and they got 5 MPs. The Liberal Democrats got 3.5 million votes, they got 70 MPs. Our system is set up so that the two major parties just hand the baton to each other continuously. No new party can come in. Financially, we don't have proportional representation. So we've looked at all this playing out and said, if we change the culture, we will change the politics. And the country is ready, and I say that through my years of activism and walking the streets of Britain, everyone's now on board. It's not a minority. We are the majority. And they know we're the majority, but they've managed to keep us as a fringe element, far right, racist. All these labels worked for so long, and all of a sudden they're looking, thinking, "Oh God, this is a peasants' revolt here." They're standing up, and they're not doing it the way we want them to do it. And anyone, we said to our supporters, anyone who comes in with a face mask, anyone who comes in wearing all black, we will take that off them. So for their ability to send infiltrators in was taken from them because we would have turned our own crowd. And I done video after video saying anyone covers their face, you take their face mask off. So when we turned up, even young lads who just had their thing up to us said, take it down now, lads, or you're going to be removed. Take it down. So we had a great crowd. We had a celebration. We had singers. We had a black Christian gospel band. Everything that they want to tarnish us as was impossible. They still tried with the media, but it's hard when you've got 1 million people watching live. We gave media passes. We invited people from America. We gave media passes to the new media, citizen journalists. The Daily Mail asked for a media pass. I said, not a chance. You're not welcome, right? You're not welcome. None of you are welcome. And then one by one, I got all of the new media up on stage to introduce themselves to the crowd. So this is who you need to follow. So they're watching all this play out, and they're probably thinking, well, what do we do now? Because they've not got balaclavas on, they're not smashing things up. People are actually listening and taking these people seriously. And we are on the verge, and I'll still say it now, that 100,000 would become 250,000 on the street. Everyone can see our country's in danger. We see our culture disappearing and eroding. It's not about, and the things I spoke about, remember I've spoke about this for 15 years, very strongly and passionately, because I've seen it firsthand. But now due to social media, everyone's seen it firsthand. And since Elon Musk gave us our voice back, for 5 years there through censorship, they controlled the narrative. They can tell people we're racist. They can tell people this. There was no counter narrative. Now there is. And they've lost control.
Well, Tommy, I know you've been sounding the alarm about immigration policies, two-tier policing, but even baked within the two-tier policing, there are two threats. There's the one of the perpetrators of violence, and then there's the others of the institution of administering justice. I don't know what I'm more scared about if I were to go to England, which I'm not. The demographic issues of what seems to be a problem, or the administration of justice, which seems totally hijacked and directed against the British people.
That's how. Remember, this is where they've got a big problem at the minute, because for so long they had total control of the narrative. They could tell people whatever they want, and you've seen this for the last 7 days with what they're saying about me instigating riots. So I have a successful 100,000 people there. I then sit down, and I think I'm never going to have this opportunity again. 100,000 people on the streets, and this was a surprise to everyone, including the police. 100,000 people on the streets and nearly 1 million watching live. I'm bringing down that judiciary, right? That judiciary, which has been corrupted and is not a justice system. On the front of it, it's called the Royal Courts of Justice. Well, that's not justice. You've got a legal system, and when someone's got a target on them, you use it. You find the laws that you can use to break them. So I made the decision, which I spoke to my children about, spoke to my family about, and said, look, the reality is here, they're going to come for me after this. I know that, I know that, because the power in this film, I didn't expect it to get to 42 million views in 10 days, which is where we're at in a minute. But I knew that the story it tells is the total opposite to what they told. So people need to see how they all conspire to control the narrative.
This is the movie Silenced.
This is the movie Silenced. So
and this is the one where, basically that they martyrized this Syrian refugee to promote a narrative that their politicians then took to the international community to demonize, call them
racist English school. So in there, what I've done is to prove to everyone, it wasn't just my opinion. I wore a hidden camera and I went and approached Syrian families that moved into the same area and gone to the same school. And they said how beautiful and wonderful it is. And then I approached the teachers, and the police investigation got the records, and nothing was racist. It wasn't racist. It wasn't to do with race. It wasn't to do with him being Syrian. The teachers say that, the records show that, but we were told it was a racist, vile school. There was so much racism, and it was all about him being Syrian and all. It painted the picture of poor victim, refugee, keep the borders open. Now, the reason why they've done this is because and look, I don't hold any animosity against this child. He was a 15-year-old child who come from a war zone who was plonked into our school. The point that we were making with it is, you're bringing the problems into our schools. Our children are becoming victims of these children, and then you're turning it and making our children get punished again.
Well, because if it highlighted the flaws of their immigration asylum-seeking problems, they'd have to course correct. So instead, demonize the Brits.
If they can't allow you to tell the truth, because the truth highlights the flaws in their policy. It's their failure. It's the government failure.
Can the recent incident with 3 girls being stabbed to death, and there's some dispute as to who the perpetrator was, where he was from, first generation British. Is that what triggered is that the moment that triggered some of the violent response?
That's the moment. So again, in the chronology of it, we hold that event. The next morning I go to the airport. The next morning I go to the border. I'm detained by counter-terrorism. And remember, if everyone's watching this, they're seeing that I've just had 100,000 people in a totally peaceful event. We've done it very well. Then I'm detained under counter-terrorism. Now, when I'm detained under counter-terrorism at the border, 8 o'clock in the morning, they come, they detain me, and then they tell me that they read out Article 7, I believe it is, that gives them the permission to do this. Now, Article 7 was brought in, so if they know there's a terrorist and there's a terrorist attack about to go off, they can grab people that they know, and then they take away their right to remain silent. So they have to speak, otherwise you're guilty of committing an act of terrorism. You're guilty of terrorism offences. So they read out saying, we are detaining you because we have reason to believe that you are in the preparation, instigation or preparation of terrorism. Is that it? Terrorism Act provides officers.
I think it should be right. It's the right, unique powers to examine people who pass through the United Kingdom's borders, to stop, question when necessary, search and detain individuals and goods traveling through UK's borders, to determine whether they may be involved or concerned with the commission, yada yada, of terrorism.
That's it. Yeah, that's the bit. Concerned in the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism. Now, what they said after that part was, now we know you're not. Okay, we know you're not. But this legislation gives us the opportunity to now question you for 6 hours. You do not have a right to remain silent. And they've already took my phone at this point. And by the way, what it says in the law, you have to give us the PIN code of your phone. And if you don't, you're breaching terrorism legislation and we will prosecute you under terrorism legislation. So I sat there, I'm taken into an interview room. They sit there, and then they also say that, by the way, you don't get a copy of this interview, yeah? And nothing that we get out this next 6 hours can be used to prosecute you on anything, right? But we want to question you. So I said, okay. So I think, what are they going to question me about? Where's this going? What's the purpose of this event? So I'm obviously annoyed. You've got jihadists everywhere. You've got terrorists flying. We've got imams flying into our country who are talking about apostasy and killing apostates, killing homosexuals. They're not stopping them at the borders.
Well, and not just that, but taking your phone. I mean, whenever we message, I take for granted the British government is listening or going to get it. But you are a journalist, and you do have, privileged communications with sources. And now they're just going to open up your phone and see who you talk to, who you have in your contacts.
They're going to download every bit of data off of it, they said. They're going to download every bit of data. At which point, I was sitting there and I read their paperwork before we get to the 6 hour interview. Mm-hmm. So I read their paperwork, and the paperwork says that in the interview, they're not allowed to question me about sources of information for journalism. That's one of the things they're not allowed to. So when they're sitting there, they said, what do you think of the United Kingdom? I said, it's a totalitarian shithole. That's it. And they said... But remember, because I can't remain silent, yeah? You're not allowed to, right? You have to answer every question we're asking you, you have to answer, or we'll prosecute you. So I said, total, and they said, what makes you say that? I said, well, you've just told me. You know I'm not involved in terrorism, but here you are questioning me without a right to reply, without a right to silence, and you want me to hand you every bit of data off my phone when there's no allegation of a crime. Like, you're a totalitarianism. That's exactly what this is a total abuse of power, a total infringement of my rights as a citizen, as a free man. Yeah? So they say all this. Then they're asking me about Palestine and Israel. Well, okay, like, argumentatively, why can't we have a two-state solution? What's your opinion?
Shut up, Tommy.
I swear to God.
I mean, this is a theological, geopolitical debate that has been going on for ages. This is the police asking you why they're...
Counter-terrorism. And basically writing everything down, right? It's like, what are you doing? A bit of homework, lads. Like, what? Like, and I asked them, I said, would you give ISIS a state, lads? Like, simple question. Would you give ISIS a state? He's like, well, this isn't for you to ask us questions. I said, you don't need to answer it, dickhead. What I'm saying is, you wouldn't give ISIS a state, so why would you give Hamas a state? Why would you reward them for jihad and rape and murder by giving them a state that's controlled by a total terrorist organisation who want the destruction of the entire West? Yeah, every one of us, they want to enslave us. So we're going through this. Then he asked me, how do you, this sounds, I wish I could get a video of it. How do you think you're going to stop the Great Replacement? I was like, I thought the Great Replacement was a conspiracy, lads. Like, here you are, counter-terrorism, asking me how I think I'm going to stop it. Then they're asking me a lot of the questions as well. What's your plans for the movement that you're creating? How do you believe, who's involved? Is there any people involved in the background? I said, so this is about you trying to get information out of me for my legal and lawful action and work. That's what this is. You want to know everything and anything, and I have to tell you under your legislation, or you can charge me. And then we get onto the phone. What you said out there, now you're in, because the 6 hour the clock started ticking. They made sure they'd done 6 hours. They went all the way through 6 hours, yeah, because they must have thought, well, we'll ask them everything. It's like, lads, and then the phone. You're going to give us the PIN code for. What's the PIN code for your phone?
Let me just ask you. Sorry, 6 hours they had with you. Do you get to go to the bathroom?
6 hours. No, they offer you. They got you a glass of water. And I hadn't. Remember, I hadn't had no sleep. I was shattered because I've done the demonstration. And I was trying to get. I was on my way to. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. They stopped me. It's a 3 hour drive to get to the port. By the time I got back from our massive demonstration and caught up on what was going on, I just drove straight to. I thought I'll get to the port. Yeah, I'll get to France and I'll go a bit. Yeah, and so I'm there. I'm knackered anyway. And they're sitting there asking me all these stupid questions from counter-terrorism. And when they got onto the PIN code of the phone, I said, let me just I'm going to give you my justification why here as well. You're asking me for access to my phone so you can download every bit of data. Yeah? I've got privileged information on there from lawyers, because I've got an ongoing case for contempt where you're trying to send me to jail for making a film, unfortunately. I said, and I've got sources of information. I've made a 5-part series. In that 5-part series, we find corrupt police officers. Yeah? Now, again, not my opinion, but in the Rotherham report from the grooming gangs, police officers got rid of evidence. Girls went in with DNA evidence of rape, and then when they went back in, they'd lost the evidence the police had. Yeah? So it's been proven they were working with them there. It's been proven in Manchester, it's been proven in Oxford that corrupt police officers were operating at the hands and working for these Pakistani gangsters in each town. In episode 2 or 3 of the one we produce, we find evidence and witnesses, and we confront a corrupt police officer who's working with the gangs. I said, in another episode, we find that the police leak the information of the survivor when she's hiding in Wales, and gangs turn up there looking for her. So I said, you expect me, who I have the trust of these ladies and girls, because you failed them, yeah? So they trust to tell their stories to me. They don't trust the mainstream journalists to tell them, they trust me. And you want me to actually give you access to my phone. I'm a journalist, you know I'm a journalist, which means everything on this phone is to do with my journalism and my work, because it's my work phone. But you want to download all the data. They said, no, it's all right, because there's a judge who's independent, who gets to look at it all first, and he decides what's relevant to journalism and what's not. I said, oh, a judge, like the judge who convicted me recently.
But Tommy, it's a broken, or it's a fully functional system. It's like everybody gets to pass the buck, and it's thoroughly corrupt through and through. And now they get to rely. The judge said yes. Okay, so the system works, and now the judge is going to be totally impartial, like the judge that just sentenced that guy to 20 months in jail for a post that he made on August 7th.
Yeah, and I said, you're not getting it. It's as simple as that. And if you want to prosecute me for terrorism and convict me, because the paperwork, as I read the law, you will get convicted. Yeah, doesn't matter. And in fact, Viva, there was a lad called Paul Golding, and about 2-3 years ago, he travelled back from Russia. He's not a terrorist. The police said when they sat him down, we know you're not a terrorist, but we want your computers and want your phones at an airport. He said no. So I covered this case, and if you dig up the story of me doing it as a journalist, I said, it's an important case, lads, that we're watching here, because if they can do it to him, they can do it to us. And they did end up doing it to us, yeah? Which is what I tried to say to Nigel Farage, talk about this, Nigel, because if they can do it to me, they'll end up doing it to you if they get away with this. So Paul Golding was convicted under the Terrorism Act, so he's got conviction as a terrorist, which will limit which countries he can go to, what he can do. So I'm then transferred from the port to a police station to be questioned under caution. Now I'm finished my 6 hours. Now I'm being prosecuted and questioned. So my solicitor's there, and I'm now, and we get told, I get told 100% I'm getting charged. So the solicitor gets told he's being charged, which means I'm going to be interviewed, then given a court date. Now something happens, because my solicitor, by the time about 6 hours passes, it gets to about 11 o'clock at night. I've been in since 8 in the morning. It's 11 o'clock at night. What I don't know is that 7 million people have watched the post, have seen the post outside. People are going mad because they know I've just held this peaceful rally. Now I'm under terrorism legislation, not expected to be released. It's embarrassing for the government and the police. And at 11 o'clock, they come in with my solicitor, I'm with my solicitor, and they say, yeah, we're letting you go. You'll be on bail. And I'm like, you haven't charged me. You're not charging me?
You'll be on bail.
Yeah, unconditional bail.
Okay, fine. I don't know what that means.
I just have to turn up at court. So
Okay.
people are saying, all the news headlines at the minute said I fled the country. Yeah, I was leaving before any riots. There'd been no riots yet. Yeah, this is going on. There's no riot, right? So they leave. They let me go and they take my phone. So they take my phone and they bail me to attend court. So to attend the police station, not court. So I've got to go back to the police station on the 25th of October at the minute on terrorism legislation. Yeah. So I get out 11 o'clock at night. I've slept in the cell a bit, so I go straight to the port again because I was delivering a car. I was dropping a car off for my mate. So I go back to the court. I'm in a car. I've had a pre-booked holiday for 18 months prior with my family to meet my kids. So I travel with 3 or 4 families. So I travel and I'm driving through France. I've got no phone. So at this time, I believe it's on the Monday that the stabbing's taken place. Yeah. And the stabbing, so anyone wants to know the details, is a migrant. And I'm going to have to detail what's happened in the 7 days. I'm glad we've got time. Because I think people to understand the context. When you see things burning, you need to know why, yeah? And you need to know what's driven people to that point.
Well, and also to flesh out, to the extent that you know it, truth from fiction or misinformation from accurate information, whether or not where the dude was from, what generation, English, religion, because there's some disinformation, whether or not he was, converting. So a lot of details that are sort of fuzzy on that, but please go ahead.
Couple of days, in this same 7 days, so we've had our rally, 100,000 people. I'm arrested for terrorism. In this same time, a Romanian gypsy family whose child fractured his skull, I believe the parents weren't home, yeah? I believe there have been previous instances of protection issues with the children, social services. So the immediate response by the protective agencies for children in the UK is to take the children into custody until they get to the bottom of the story of how he gets a fractured skull and where were you, mum and dad, during it happened here. Because if you weren't in the home and he's home alone with a lot of other little kids, then that's seen as neglect in the UK. For your kids, you can't do that, yeah? So this goes on. Now, as the police go there, then the police are called to protect the social services who are going to take the kids. They come under hostile violent attack by Muslims and Romanian gypsies because it's in a close-knit 40% Muslim community where it happened. So all the Muslim youth come out, all the Romanian gypsies come out, and they smash the police car to bits. They turn it on its roof, they burn it. Now there's videos that go viral, and the videos are of the police running away. Yeah? Just leg it. They're all literally running, yeah, getting chased by all the Muslims. They're running away. Now that's something we don't see. We see them running towards us. Yeah, we see dogs, we see horses, and we see riot shields, and we see bands, and we get beat up, and they come in heavy-handed. All of a sudden, everyone's watching this, and they're legging it. And they're legging it, and then the next day after this, all the Romanians come out again. But buses are burnt anyway from the night before. Police cars are burnt. All the men are on the streets again. An English woman comes out of her house and just says, I've got to live here. Well, you're not going in your houses. Go away, yeah? I'm living here. The police come over. They arrest the English woman. They nick her. They handcuff her and take her away. She's crying her eyes out. So again, everyone's watching it in two-tier policing. You're not arresting the criminals. And when you know what you've just seen in 7 days, this is why you'll have to understand. Where are these court cases of the Romanians who burnt the buses, burnt the police cars, smashed the coppers up? Where are they? We haven't seen any court cases yet for them. We haven't seen any massive fight back like this. And you know what? So the Romanian community then stood in their hundreds, and they told the police on camera, if the children are not given back by 10 p.m. tonight, people will talk for 100 years of the riots that this country is about to see. Yeah? Give the children back. And I put a post out. If you look at that post, I put a post out saying, guaranteed the kids are going back tonight. It doesn't matter.
I'm reading how the Daily Mail reports on this, and we're going to get back to the Daily Mail in terms of doxing you later on. The headline: fiercely proud Roma crowd take to Leeds street again after night of terrifying riots to chant "Please bring the kids back." And then the second paragraph describes it this way. Oh, where did it just go? Just disappeared. Scores of people took to the streets on Leeds on Friday night chanting, "Please bring the kids back," in peaceful demonstrations after locals set a bus on fire and overturned a police car in an anger display the night before. It's like, you know, mostly fiery but mostly peaceful, but slightly fiery protests.
Of course. And when you see, remember, when you're watching how this being described, the total appeasement, they give the kids back. So the kids get given back, yeah? Kids get given back, Romanian, then it diffuses, that situation is stopped. But that was the police surrendering to mob rule. That's what we watched. So everyone watched it and thought, okay, so they gave in to them. People are unhappy about it. Then this is all happening in 7 days. Then a migrant gets off a moped, waits outside a military barracks. The first soldier that comes in full uniform, he jumps off of his moped, he runs over and he butchers him. Yeah, stabbing him and stabbing him and stabbing him. Stabbed him, I think, 15 times or something. Yeah, butchering him. The soldier's wife, there's a video, you can hear all the screams from the wife. She opens the door and sees her husband getting butchered. She starts screaming. And we're told after this incident, now remember, there was other people in the street who weren't wearing soldiers' uniforms, and he didn't stab any of them. He just went for the soldier. Now, Lee Rigby was beheaded. And he was beheaded by 2 Muslim converts, Michael Adebolajo, Nigerian converts. They beheaded him, and they done the same. They didn't attack members of the public, because what they said is that the soldier is a legitimate target of jihad because he's been part of a system against the Islamic countries. Yeah, so he's a migrant. We find out he's been in the country 6 months, and then straight away it's mental health. Yeah, they told the public it was an incident of mental health. Now, in that mental episode, he didn't stab anyone but the soldier in uniform. So, and the reason we worry. And I'll ask you to do this now, Viva, you've got a computer up. We've seen cover-ups like this before. Google Russell Square attack. Google Russell Square attack, yeah?
Okay.
This attack, Russell Square attack. Now, 2016, I think, if I remember rightly. And...
Okay. Oh,
Russell Square knife attack. Yeah? Is that it?
Russell Square knife. Here we go.
How is it possible Metro Police can know within a few hours of the recent Russell Square knife attack that the mental health of the murderer was a significant factor? So basically, let me explain what happened here. That murderer, that Muslim, goes into a mosque in the morning and he says, I want to kill non-Muslims. He mentions it to his imam, yeah, my cause, my jihad, yeah. The imam, rather than ringing the police, they pray for him. They pray for his mental health, yeah. They pray for him. He then leaves the mosque, and this mental episode, he leaves the entire Muslim area. He comes out of the mosque. He doesn't go on a nice stabbing spree to any Muslims. He enters Russell Square, which is a wealthy part of London, and he butchers 7 people. One of them, killing them, dying, an American tourist. He's murdered, yeah? And whilst he's killing them all, he's screaming, Allah Akbar. Now, you wouldn't know any of this. I know this because I researched the case. The public wouldn't know this because they were just told mental health attack, right? This wasn't an act of jihad, this is not listed as a terrorist attack, Viva. This is not, and this isn't the only one. There's lots of these cases. Another case, an old age pensioner gets beheaded in her garden, yeah, in London. So she's in her garden and some bloke jumps over the wall and chops her head off. I think she's about 88 years old. Whilst doing it, he's shouting out Akbar. Yeah? This wasn't a terrorist attack. This is another mental health incident. Okay, so anyone who knows this, and obviously I use my journalism to highlight these sorts of things. We don't believe what you say. I don't believe you over Ukraine. I didn't believe you over we know you lied over weapons of mass destruction to get those invasions. We didn't believe you over COVID, over vaccines. I don't believe you. You keep lying, yeah? So you've been proven as liars. So why are we going to believe you? And do you know what they said? So this has happened, all of this happened. Then there's a video. This is all blown up. So everyone's watching all this, yeah? You have to understand where they come from, the big frustration come from. You're watching all this. We're told it's mental health for the soldier. So the giant soldier's murder. I made a video next morning saying, well, I've just listened to the national news and it's not been mentioned. Yeah. And I've gone online and it's not in the top stories. A member of full uniform has just been butchered near to death in an attack. And he's a member of our military and it's not made our news. Is that not a bit suspicious here? What's going on? Yeah. And all you'll find is mental health incident at army barracks. Okay. Mental health incident. You won't know that he's a migrant, has been in the country 6 months. That was the public that found that out, yeah? So this is happening. And then there's an incident at Manchester Airport, and there's a viral video, and a Muslim's on the floor, and the video don't look good. A Muslim's on the floor, and a police officer kicks him in the face. Yeah. So as you watch it, the copper kicks him in the face, but you don't see the context of what's happened before that. So then thousands of Muslims turn up that night, because the Muslims get arrested, and they're in the police cells in Rochdale. So thousands of Muslims turn up outside the police station. They attack the police station, yeah, and they're demanding violence, and they're screaming. You don't see one single police officer. They hide. There's no police. So they're committing crimes. They're throwing things at the police station, but no police come, no police horses, no police dogs, no police batons. They literally are hiding. Yeah. So this is watching this. And then the Muslims make the demand through their lawyer and other Muslim celebrities, representatives, spokespeople. They're on TV and they make the demand that these Muslims are released and the racist police officer is prosecuted. Now, the Muslims that night are released. But it wasn't that bad that they were released because it looked pretty bad what the police officer had done. And then the police make a statement saying there's insufficient evidence against the Muslims and they're now criminally investigating the police officer. Well, so that happens. Then the next day, the entirety of the video is released. Do you know what the Muslim lad's done? They savagely beat from behind police officers in the airport. They break a police woman's nose and knock her unconscious on the floor. And just as they do that, they grab another copper, armed response coppers. So as an armed response copper, if they get their gun, they're killing them, yeah? So in America, these men would have been shot dead instantly shot dead. But the police officer gets punched from behind and you see him, he throws the Muslim on the floor and instantly kicks him in the head. Now he's got an option, he's got to take him out. Now the Muslim lad's tasered from someone else, another copper. But the copper who throws him on the floor don't know that. He throws him on the floor and boots him, yeah? He actually does a good job when you watch it. So then the public are watching thinking, hold on a minute. You said there was insufficient evidence. In fact, the evidence is that these criminals battered police officers. You've just let them go. You've let them out of the police station. And why have they let them out of the police station, Viva? Because the Muslims have threatened to riot. So what works in the UK? Riots, basically. That's what they've told the public. If you're Romanian and Muslim and you want to threaten the police, you get the kids back. And and not just that, but just as the same as the George Floyd situation, the police officer was thrown under the bus straight away. He gets criminally investigated. So if this video of the entire incident wasn't leaked, because it weren't the police that released it, if it was, so someone must have saw it, who had the footage and gone, shut up, we're not, let the public see what's gone on here. At that point, everyone's demanding, I remember I made a video saying, you better prosecute those Muslims or we're going to bring our movement to that city. We're going to come and protest. Because it's the only thing they listen to. They listen to mob rule and they surrender to mob rule and they surrender the streets. And I spoke about plenty of instances of this, Viva. I've spoke publicly. When we held a demonstration, they're building a mega mosque. This is when we had the English offensive. They're building a mega mosque in the city of Dudley. And we got lads to climb on the roof of the derelict building and play the call to prayer in the middle of the night, yeah? Because this is what they're going to do out of that mosque, to let the public know what's coming. At that point, Muslims come out on the streets and started rioting. And when we got home that night, we read that a Muslim attacked a police officer with a brick. And hundreds of Muslims with the imam had gone to the police station and demanded his release. Yeah. So I read it thinking, nah, that hasn't happened. Yeah, that hasn't happened. When I've had a meeting with the police the next week, because we had regular meetings with the police about our demonstrations. We were holding monthly demonstrations, weekly sometimes. And I said, lads, can I ask you a question? I read this online. That a Muslim attacked a cop with a brick. He was arrested and then you let him go with no charges because hundreds of Muslims come to the police station threatening him. And they looked at each other and I went, oh my God, lads, it's true. I said, no way is that true. And they said, Tommy, we have to make a decision based on a potential riot can spread to every town and city. So do we prosecute one man for an assault or do we watch the country burn? And I was like, well, hold on a minute. So who runs the law in this city? The imam.
Tommy, do you have any contacts or insiders within the UK police? Like, how do they feel about this?
So since this is all blown up, a top senior terrorism officer and another officer in the last 2 days have given interviews saying, no, we were told to if Muslims had knives and bats and there's large groups and we're told not to go near them. Yeah? We're told to dress in riot gear for English people and we're told to dress in soft caps as to not provoke reaction from any of the migrants, yeah. So and the thing is, I've tried screaming. So I've told that story I just told you for years, saying they let them go. Now, what's happened here on the Manchester case is it's the same as my documentary. The truth is that the Muslims violently attacked police, but it was false fun, and the Muslims were sitting on TV with lawyers as victims of a racist attack. And all the Muslim community were going wild. And then the truth's released, and it's just got, and then all of a sudden the story stopped. You need to see the video of him battering the police officers. And then know now that all these lads are getting sent to jail for words over 3 days. Those Muslims still ain't been prosecuted, people. They still haven't faced prosecution. They've still not been charged. They've still not been charged. So everyone's watching this play out. Yeah. Then in Southport, and you need to know the details. Think of Southport. Southport's a working class area, a tough area, yeah, English area. And someone's gone in, we don't know who at the time, someone's gone into the school, and I spoke to the uncle of this little girl 2 days later. He's grabbed, the first child he saw, he grabbed by the hair, and he stabbed her through the face, yeah. These children are 7, 8 and 9, the dead children are 7, 8 and 9, yeah, years old. He stabbed a dozen kids, he butchered a dozen kids. But he also stabbed two adults. But he's gone in. So the first girl, I spoke to her uncle. So imagine being this girl's uncle, being the family, just so you can understand the effect it would have had on this close-knit community. He grabbed one girl, stabbed her in the face, ruined her forever. Then he stabbed her, takes her bicep off. Then he stabs her in the body. He thinks he's killed her, so he drops her. Then he goes in, grabs the next kid. Now, this one family, that's his niece. And on the other side of the family, the goddaughter had been murdered. She's 7. She's dead. Yeah. So this community are broken-eyed, but they're also raging. Within an hour of this incident, just like the other incidents, the police come out and say it's not terrorism. How can you possibly know it's not terrorism in an hour?
Well, Tommy, and not that it. I'm going to ask the question anyhow. The kid is 17. From what country?
Well, the kid is actually born in Wales, yeah, but no one knew this at the time, right? So they said Welsh, Cardiff man, yeah. So no one knows this. No one knows the history. No one knows anything. All people know at this moment, yeah, because they won't release his name. And when they won't release his name, you see, if 2 men have robbed someone and beat someone and there's no description in the newspaper, then that's because it's not white man, yeah. So if it's a white man, it'd be white, middle-aged man, 30 years old, yeah. If it's someone who's not white, it might say tanned looking. it's just insane. So
or what they did with the entire grooming gangs, East Asian or Asian.
They distort it. So when they don't give his name, everyone again is asking questions. Now, some things disinformation was put online. Yeah. So I think Nigel Farage has been grilled this week because he shared it. I didn't share it. Okay. I saw failed Syrian refugee. Now, I didn't jump to the conclusion and I didn't share it because I like people to trust what I say. So until I can verify it, I also got told very quickly that the father, the boy's father, again, I don't know if this is disinformation, we haven't had it confirmed yet. The boy's father had committed genocide in Rwanda before coming to the UK. So we were getting told all these things. I didn't publish one thing of it, yeah? I didn't publish one thing. So as we're watching it develop, remember, at this time, I'm still traveling through France at this time, at the start. I still haven't got a phone. I haven't got a phone, yeah, because the police got my phone. So by the time I get one, this is all going on now. So all the community have come out for a vigil that night or the next night. I can't remember, yeah? So they've come out for a vigil. Everyone's out from that area, locals from that area. As they're out, a Arab looking, certainly looking, because I've seen the video, is detained around the corner from the vigil with a balaclava and a big knife, yeah? So the community who are there, because 12 kids have been butchered, 3 of them are dead. Imagine the anguish, imagine the heartache, imagine the anger, imagine all these things. And then imagine the government, the police come out and said, we are managing what you know. Yeah, so we're managing. And we know what that means. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, everyone's looking thinking, oh, really? You're managing it? Just like you manage the soldier. The soldier didn't even make the news. This has had to make the news because 3 are dead. Otherwise, you'd be just mental health again, would it? Mental health again, would it? So everyone's watching it. We know they lie. The problem is that they've got, there's no trust anymore. The public do not trust what they're told by the media, not just because of the incidents I'm telling you, but because of COVID. Because you lied. The government lied. We've seen your WhatsApp messages of politicians saying, scare the shit out of them, just scare them. We need to scare them all. So they lied about everything. Yeah? Lied about the vaccine. It's all been lies. So in that case, how can anyone trust anything you say? And that's not our fault. That's your fault. That's the government's fault. It's the mainstream media's fault. You've lost the total trust of the people. So when this is all going on, there's a vigil, someone gets caught with a knife. Now, word spread pretty quick through that town. Yeah? They've come to do it again. Someone's come to do it again. Someone's come to stab the vigil. Yeah. So anger boils over. So no one's talking about the reason that they were angry. No one. It's just, and the locals then clashed with the police that night. There was riots, yeah, against the police. Now, a lot of people saying, why are they attacking the police? We've watched continuously the police attack the British and protect terrorist minorities, jihadists, literally defend them. No, we've watched it. So there's a lot of underlying anger and resentment. And the grooming scandal, I remember saying, you don't, they hide these problems and they say it's for community cohesion. It doesn't bring any cohesion. It actually brings resentment and anger. And that just boils and boils and boils and builds up and builds up and builds up. Now, what you saw this night was an explosion of anger. And it wasn't good, okay? It wasn't good. Once they'd done that, that night, and this is where I knew what was happening, that night they come out and said it was members of the English Defence League. So the statement that come out from the police mentioned the English Defence League. I founded the English Defence League in 2009. I led it till 2014. There hasn't been an English Defence League for a decade. There is no English Defence League. There is no group. They don't have meetings. They don't have demonstrations. There isn't a group. So when they come out and brought up from the dead a defunct organisation, I thought, straight away I thought, well, I know what this is about. Yeah, because this, rather than, what my original thought was, rather than let the country know the British public on the street raging, you want to give it an ideology. So you want to create a far-right myth to these angry people, which is what they've done. They called them all far-right, which then Keir Starmer come out and give this big statement against the far-right. So the British public have got even angrier. Well, you're calling us all far-right. So you don't do that with them. Whether it be over George Floyd, whenever the riots are happening, you all say, we need to understand why they're angry. Not this. You're all far-right, you're all racist. So ordinary parents who come out for a vigil and to show respect and their frustration in a democracy, when you're allowed to do that, when they come out, they're all getting labelled as far-right and racist and extremists and getting labelled as English Defence League. So I led the English Defence League. I was the English Defence League. My face is associated with the English Defence League. So when they've done that, obviously I haven't been involved because I've been driving through a country. By the time I sit there, I start seeing all this and I'm reading it thinking, the English Defence League, that's insane. And then the next day our Home Secretary is talking about prescribing the English Defence League, which is a group that don't exist, with no members, that's not active, as a terrorist organisation. So I think you've detained me on terrorism. Now you're going to prescribe an organisation that doesn't exist that I founded as a terrorist group, when there is no group. And then, so this is the total manipulation. And then people have come out on the streets in many towns and cities. Now, again, what they don't want to talk about. Hull was one of the first cities where the migrant hotel got ransacked by the British public. Yeah? Not by the English Defence League, because there is no English Defence League. It wasn't coordinated by anybody. It was locals coming out. Now, why did they come out in Hull? Well, one of the refugees and asylum seekers in that hotel left the hotel and stabbed a British man to death while shouting, "This is for Palestine." Yeah, that's what happened. Now, they don't want to tell you that's what happened, but that's what happened. Google that attack in Hull by a refugee asylum seeker from the hotel that he's paid for. Now, where is the anger and frustration coming? I'll tell you, in Great Britain right now, Viva, you can't get a hospital appointment. You can't, right? You can't get a doctor's appointment. The waiting list is so long. People are pulling their own teeth out because they can't get a dentist appointment. Yet migrants, and let's not call them refugees, because they've gone through 16 safe countries, they're not with women and children. They're put up in 3, 4, 5-star hotels. They're given meals 3 times a day for free. They're treated like gods. In every hotel, they have their own doctor and nurse to facilitate them. So I done a video again. It was in my last documentary. I said, my dad can't get a doctor's appointment. There's a doctor sitting in here dealing with all these Somalians and Pakistanis. Yeah? My dad's contributed to this country his whole life. So what's happened is British people have been put in 2nd and 3rd class in everything. So people are looking, they're getting upset. The government are cutting funding. They're cutting funding. They're not subsidising electricity or heating bills. So our British public can't afford to put the heating on. Your mum can't put the heating on in winter. Yeah, these lot are in 3, 4-star hotels, getting 3 meals a day, living the life of Riley. And not just living the life of Riley, they're coming out of the hotels and they're killing. And not just that, Oxford. One of the migrants come out of the hotel, but Oxford didn't get attacked. Tamworth, Google now. Tamworth's, the address, the hotel in Tamworth got attacked. What they don't tell you is that Mohammed from the hotel raped an English woman. So, of course, people are angry, yeah, in Tamworth, because they know that. But the public, the media haven't told you. So Rotherham, the hotel gets ransacked in Rotherham. 1,400 kids are raped in Rotherham by Muslims, 1,400. Also, there's been reports of the men in the hotel sexually harassing 12-year-olds. Is that Mohammed? That's him. So Mohammed of Tamworth, you see the address they give there? That's the migrant hotel. Right? So everyone in Tamworth knows that. Everyone in Hull, it was Hull, I think I'm right on the city. Look up Hull, terrorism, Palestine. Yeah. It's a terrible crack. So the public aren't getting the full picture of where this anger's brewed from. Liverpool, one of the places where Southport is where it goes off, and Liverpool, there'd already been a riot previously outside that hotel because there was a video that went online of the migrants going up to a schoolgirl in a school uniform saying, give me your number. She says, I'm 13, 14. They said, we don't care. Give us your number. So that night, lots of men went to the hotel. So basically, against the wishes of the British public, hostile men who are sexually like barbarians, who don't care about age, have been brought into every town and city and placed within the community. And if you say anything, you're a far-right racist. And they haven't listened to concerns. Now, Keir Starmer's opportunity here.
Tell me, is...
Rock and asylum seeker gets life sentence for killing retiree in attack motivated by war in Gaza. Was this in Hull?
This one's...
Sorry, Hartlepool. Hartlepool's where the protest was. So Hartlepool. So but these men, he was in a hotel. He was in a refugee hotel. Yeah. So, and another case in Oxford, another case in Skegness. I'll give you another case, yeah, just so you understand what's going on. In Bournemouth, so a refugee comes in, says he's Afghani, yeah? Says he's Afghani, we don't know what any of them are. Says he's Afghani, no papers. Says he's 15 years old, so they put him in school. There's allegations in the school of him being sexually harassing children, yeah? All girls in his class, yeah? Nothing was done about it at the time. He gets to the age of 20, so 5 years later, he stabs a Royal Marine, a British Royal Marine through the heart and murders him, yeah? Kills him. When he does that, there's been a massive investigation, of course. In the investigation, they find out, oh, he's not 20 years old, he's 25 or 26. So when you put him in the school with our daughters, he weren't 15, was he? He was 21, he was a man. Yeah. Then they find out he shot 2 people dead with an AK-47 in Serbia on his way to Britain. So you've got no checks. You don't care who these people are. You don't care the risk they pose to us or our daughters. You don't care that our women from our communities are being raped walking home by the men you put in the hotels. So I made a video saying, get them out of the hotel. They're trying to use this against me. I said, get them out of the hotels, put them back on the boats, get them gone. They're not refugees. They've got, and when I was 12 years old, the Bishop family in my road, a refugee family who went through the real refugee process, which is a process to come into the country. They got welcomed in. They were put up by the Bishop family in my road. The Bishops took them in. The little boys and the daughter, their father, because it was the mum, the daughter, and the brother, they come because their father had been murdered in Bosnia. These are real refugees, yeah? These are real refugees. Both those kids have gone on to be successful, integrated members of British society. The boy went to school with me. Lovely kid, success. You would look at our country, you'd be proud of the opportunity we give him, yeah? The public aren't against this. What they're against is men, fighting age military men, with no women or children, being placed into our towns. You don't know who they are, putting them in our schools. I've done another video recently. The man's got a fully grown beard, he's in the classroom. I'm in a beard like this. Some Muslim lads who's saying he's 15. It's like, mate, he ain't 15. And you're just putting them in. I've got another mate who's a school teacher who said, bro, like, they're bringing men in, putting them in class. We're just having to sit there going, hold on a minute. He ain't a child. But so all these risks to be taken. It's like they're playing the lottery with our kids and our women and just throwing these men who you don't know anything about. So to understand the anger, you have to understand everything that's going on. Yeah? And what the government has successfully done it is, rather than talk about any of these issues we're talking about, rather than have any conversation at all about open border mass migration, rather than discuss it, in fact, they haven't even discussed the 3 girls that are murdered. We still don't know the ideology behind the boy that's done it or why he done it. We still don't know. There's been no discussion, because all the discussion has been about is the English Defence League, the non-existent group. Now, yesterday or the day before, the media pumped all over the country the biggest hoax I've ever seen. They said there was 100 riots planned by the English Defence League in towns across our country. They boarded up all these towns. There weren't one group gathered. In one town, there was a protest in Aldershot, totally peaceful. In all the other towns...
Well, no, it's an amazing thing, actually. They'll wrongly say that there were hundreds planned, and then when none show up, they'll say, we suppressed what would have otherwise been a day of violence.
They claim victory, and every national newspaper run the same headline with the same picture. Same headline, same picture. Now, what they've done for 7 days, so since they mentioned the English Defence League and making it a terrorist organisation, then I'm on holiday. Yeah, I put out video after the first night of violence. By the time I've got my phone, I put out a video and say, look, throwing bricks ain't going to solve this problem. Attacking innocent police officers who are hands are tied behind their back through political correctness anyway, who have got a family at home and they're going out and working a difficult job already. Attacking them is blatantly wrong. Burning things is absolutely moronic, yeah? So I make a very clear video. Lads, stop. I'll make another video. And in the other video, because I saw more riots, and the riots each time I'm watching them were young, English, disenfranchised, neglected youth. So I'll make the next video saying the reason why we had 100,000 people peacefully on the street wasn't because there isn't anger. It's because we harnessed and channeled that anger. And we give them a voice. And we've done that through leadership. Now, and I addressed the men in the city, so there were more demonstrations going on. I said, get those young men and show them leadership. Take the balaclavas off, because they're going to end up in jail for a long time. Yeah? They need leadership. Help them, because they're kids. And now these are the kids that are getting jailed now for throwing a stone at a building, missiles at buildings. They're young kids. They're angry. They're upset. They know they're being treated differently. They know that their future's disappearing in front, their country's disappearing. So all these things are playing a part in the anger. And then all of a sudden, I wake up and I'm on holiday with my children, a pre-planned holiday. And the front page of the papers and all the pictures is of journalists who have come to where I am. They've doxed the exact location of where I am with my kids. They've put it out and they've said that I am the man instigating from my sunbed. And do you know what tweet they used to justify me instigating the riots? And once this headline's gone out, it's been game over for me. Now, instigating the riots, they used an example of a controversial tweet. It was mass deportation is needed. That's what I said. And mass deportations are needed for the survival of Europe. We need mass deportations. I'm not going to apologise for that. That's not controversial. They ignore the evidence. And this is where it's scary. Because if there was an X, try and search my name on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. They've deleted everything. So then they come out with this narrative. This is what they don't like. The narrative is that Tommy Robinson is the instigator of the violence on the streets of the UK. He's the planner. He's coordinated it. It's his problem, yeah? So they go with this. And I'm sitting watching every daytime TV chat show, every news show, where they're all now speaking as a matter of fact. Like Piers Morgan sat with Andrew Tate and said Tommy Robinson has instigated and directed violent attacks against Muslims and the mosques. Now, there's no truth in any of this. But I'm lucky because I can counter that lie a little bit, not compared to their machine, but a little bit. I made a video showing, here's what I said, and I made it on Twitter. It had 7 million views. Here's what I said. Here's what they're saying I said. There's no truth in it. But for me, I'm now the face. And what has that done by doing that? A Somalian has now made a video blatantly who he is, saying he's going to murder me. Yeah. Another Muslim made a video of a machine gun saying, addressed to me again. So the heightened threat level, the police have been to addresses looking for me in the UK to hand me Osman warnings. There's intelligence of threats to kill me and members of my family. I'm going to go public with this in a couple of days. I'm just sorting things out. So these daytime presenters, and now it's like tell a lie once, tell a lie 100 times becomes fact. It's now spoken about as a matter of fact by politicians who are all demanding the extradition of me. I haven't done anything. And the problem is, I've been through the court judiciary system where it doesn't matter if I haven't done anything. Because I'm not going to have a judge, as I've got a court case on the 28th and 29th of October. I have to be in court for the film that I played. Now, this is where things were going like this. Britain's on the verge of a cultural revolution, 100,000 people on the street. I've played a film that's on 42 million views, which totally destroys the narrative that they've had. Yeah? Their lie has now been exposed. They're not happy. I understand they're not happy, but now they have to justify locking me up. They have to give this to the public to justify what they want to do. Not just that, someone who's being lied to, because there's a Muslims making videos who they truthfully believe these Muslims. So if they stick something in me and they want to kill me, the threat level's never been as high as it is now. Viva, I felt under attack for years at times. I've never seen anything like this last 7 days. I've never seen anything like it. Anything. Every newspaper. I sat there this morning and I Googled Tommy Robinson and I went to news. Do it now. Yeah. It's insane. It's absolutely all over the world. All over the world.
I love this. On the run, Tommy Robinson suns himself at an all-inclusive 5-star hotel in Cyprus while his foot soldiers run.
And then but they blame it on. So they manufacture a group that I used to lead that isn't debunked. That it doesn't function. There's no group. They blame the angry British public as all being part of this group, because that then means they don't have to talk about why everyone's angry. They haven't had one discussion. Not one single discussion. They've turned it totally into, we have to crush the far right. This bogeyman, I'm the bogeyman. And then they've justified, look at my little hips.
You're looking good. Tell me, how old are you? You're 40.
I'm 41.
41. You're looking good. No. Well, I had heard that Daily Mail doxed your location.
They doxed my location. They gave where we were, and from that, the next day, the Daily Mail, no, BBC, Sky News, 3 different news crews. They've all turned up. So my kids are sending me pictures saying there's journalists everywhere here, Dad. Yeah? They're taking pictures of my kids. Okay, so the journalists everywhere. They know I'm under death threat. They know that anyway. I've had 12 government Osman warnings. People want to kill me. I have to keep my location as a secret. And here they are telling everyone, here's where he is. And a Muslim that day made a video, and I shared it on my Twitter. A Muslim made a video saying, he's in this hotel. Someone go get him. Yeah. Bearing in mind I'm there with my kids. They didn't have to. The thing they could have done is blur out anyone else's faces and not give the location and still run that stupid, pathetic story. I don't know where the news is in it, but the whole purpose of this was landing on my lap, landing pressure on my lap, ruining my hat. I had my kids for 2 weeks there, yeah? I don't get to live with my children anymore. So you see that in the documentary. So I had my kids for 2 weeks, 3 days in, I'm having to sit in a hotel room. The managers from the hotel said they're all over the hotel. I've had to leave. I've had to leave because, and I didn't want I've had to leave. And it's like, and then, so what I've done, I'll tell you what I've done. 3 houses. Both all the journalists that are involved in that story and the editor of the Daily Mail, I sent surveillance teams to their properties the next day. I got pictures of all their family, yeah, everyone, as they come out of the house. I got pictures of their wives at the window, pictures of their kids coming out. And then I rang him up and I sent them to him. I rang him up and said, right, let me ask you a question. You're a journalist, yeah? I'm going to ask you now. You know I've got this. So I've got all the pictures. I've got all your locations. Is it fair if I run a story and give the images of your innocent family members? And is it fair if I tell people where you live? Simple question. And I've done this out of, I'm never going to do that. Yeah, I'm never, ever going to do that. But I said, I want you to know what you've just done to me. I want you to know what you've just done to innocent people. I want you to know that my kids are crying their eyes out and they're scared now. I want you to know that they're reading all the threats online of what their people are saying they're going to rape my children, and they're having to read it. And this is done for because of you. Because of you. That's not journalism. How do you think this is journalism?
Well, I don't think they do think it's journalism. They are doing the legwork of the government. They work together in tandem.
And Viva, so people understand what the Daily Mail is. In about 2015, no, 13, maybe 14, yeah, I set a meeting up with Theresa May through one of her constituents. Now, Theresa May went on to be our Prime Minister, but at the time she was Home Secretary. So her constituents meant to turn up. I went walking in. I'm leading the English Defence League. So I sit down and said, all right, Theresa, do you know who I am? She just looks. She's looking around for help, and there's no help. It's just me and her. I said, I'm Tom Robson. I'm the leader of the English Defence League. I want to show you a video. So I turn the computer around and I press play. And it's an English girl being beaten to pulp by Muslim men. And she looks at it and she says, I can't comment on that. I said, I know you can't, and I know you won't. But if it was a Muslim girl wearing a hijab being beaten by white men, you'd be commenting on my news.
They'd be sentenced to life within 5 days, like we're seeing now.
You'd all be talking about it. So and what I wanted to tell her, which is what I did tell her, I said, you say you're cracking down on extremism and Islam, but your government policy, that doesn't filter down to my town, which is controlled by Labour, who are empowering the jihadists. They're working with them in council. So I had this conversation with her. I was in there for about 20, 30 minutes, yeah? By the time I got to the end of the road, Daily Mail article, by the time I got to the end of the road, EDL leader ambushes Home Secretary. So literally, she must have wrote the article, yeah? And it was in the Daily Mail in 10 minutes. So the Daily Mail is not a journalist piece. It's not a newspaper giving media. It's an arm of the government, yeah? It's an arm of the controlled government. So when I believe totally, my rise, which has come back in 6 months, and my popularity, which they're worried by, and the fact that no longer they control the narrative. People are listening to me, not listening to them. We have reached that they can only dream of at the minute, simply because of X, yeah? Simply because of X. So they've sent an attack, not just on me, but on my family. That's what they've done. And they've ousted where we are. And then Sky News. So I know Sky News are there. And this is just for the laugh, yeah? So the next day, I've left. And I thought, I've gone to Athens, where I am. I've gone to Athens. And I've done a little video. And I knew that they'd clock a couple of little things in the video to know I'm in Athens. Yeah? So I've done a little video, and then Sky News said, we've just watched your video. I made a video to journalists, and I said, every journalist watching this, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Yeah? If you don't want your children or your family to end up in pictures and videos, you shouldn't do it to other people. Go and do your job, lads. Yeah, your job. So, and I'll give you an example. When I done my 5-part series investigating the rape gangs in Telford, we had surveillance. It cost us a lot of money. Yeah, we had surveillance on the paedophiles and the rapists. There were times when we were sat in blacked out vehicles waiting to confront them, to question them, and they walked past with their kids. So we stayed sitting in the vehicles. Yeah, we stayed. There's time when I saw one of them he's there with his mum, and for us, it's like we've got security men here, 3 cameramen here, but that's a no-go. That's just a no-go. We're not going to confront him in front of his mum, yeah, because his mum's there. It's not right for his mum. We're not going to do it in front of his children because it's going to be everlasting memories for his children who are totally innocent in this. I'm not going to knock on the door of the families when I know the kids are inside. So all these things are going on. So I think we go out of our way as journalists to make sure that we run by a certain code. And these bastards are just doing the total opposite. So I made a video saying, listen, don't do it, right? Because if you do it, I'm warning you. And essentially, you see those journalists, even if you're watching this now, I will get a camera on their face. I will turn up and question them about what they've done to my kids and what they've done to my family. But as we're doing this, and then Sky News messaged me and said, Athens, can we come and question you in Athens? I said, yes, Sam, lads, come and question me. And I sent them to a hotel, Melia Hotel. I said, book this suite. So they booked a suite. And then they were arriving in the morning. So I said, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock at night. And then they messaged me at 8 o'clock at night. I said, lads, I'm going to be an hour. I'm still doing something, blah, blah, blah. And then I screenshotted all the messages. And then at the time, I just put at the bottom, you wankers. Yeah? You wankers, because I'm not in Athens. But they are literally running. And do you know what they've done straight away? They've done, boom. So before this, the media had already run the exact location of where I was having food. So it's like they're purposely doxing me, to chase me, to dox me, to endanger me. There's no other question for it. It's to endanger me. So they want, which I don't really care about. Well, I do care, it's a liberty, but not when I'm with my kids, and they know I'm with my kids. The whole article in the Daily Mail is about my kids. And they say they saw me go to the gym with my daughter. They took pictures of me in the gym. They followed me there with my daughter. Yeah? So they know I'm with children, me and my 3 children. And they still are doing this. So and then all these things are pursuing. Keir Starmer, they totally manipulate the situation. They make it all far right. Then they have to crush the far right. At the minute, it's being told to the world that I've orchestrated far right racists to riot. No one's getting the story about the rapists from or the murderers from the hotels. No one's getting a story about all the problems with migration. There's no discussion. They've totally changed the whole reverse. Keir Starmer had an opportunity after the first night of burning to come out as a statesman, yeah, which is his job. He only got 9 million votes, 9 million, 18% of the public. You're not on a mandate for the majority, you mug. Yeah, you're 18% of the vote. You're 18%, and 9 million people voted for you. 42 million people have seen my corrupt expose of your judiciary. Yeah? So this is what they've done. And he had an opportunity to come out and say to Britain, listen, we're going to listen. We understand your fears. We understand your anger. But instead, he poured petrol on you. So this was after the first night. So all those other riots, I don't believe would have happened if he hadn't done that. Yeah.
Keir Starmer, some people were saying, well, he wasn't prime minister when the rape gangs were going on, or the grooming gangs, rape gangs.
He was in charge of the CPS who made the decision.
Yeah, he was the director of public prosecutions in 2008, taking over from Ken MacDonald.
He made the decisions not to prosecute Jimmy Savile, who's a paedophile. He said there was insufficient evidence, even though he raped hundreds of kids, and we know they had testimonies at the time. So he made that decision. He also made the decision. He also fought the government at the time to give benefits to illegal migrants, which is why we're in the mess we're in now. So he's also a total Marxist. Yeah, he's also a total Marxist. So
well, that much is clear from the show trial forced convictions and parading those convictions around like trophies that we've seen in the last 3 days.
And the question everyone's asking is, were the Muslims so before all of this started, the Muslims who went viral, who we know bad police officers, have still not faced any prosecution. Why are they not in jail? Why are they not being remanded in prison? You're remanding everyone here. Why are they not remanded in prison? So the Muslims and Romanian gypsies who rioted, where are their pictures? Where's their show trials? Where are they all over the newspaper? They haven't been convicted either. There's been no big manhunt like there is here. There's no, and they're on about, they're just arresting people for swearing and being there.
No, but Tommy, it's perfectly analogous to the 2020 Summer of Love versus the January 6th insurrection and the disparate treatment or the differential treatment of the two groups.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same playing out here now. And what's been great is, I'll say great, yeah, the only benefit that can come from this. I've known we've got two-tier policing my whole life because I've grown up with it. I've known about the two-tier judiciary because I've been pushed through it every time. Yeah? I've watched them do things that are unlawful, they don't care. Right? But now the whole country's watching it. So, and they're only watching it, and this is why they must stop us. So for 7 days, they went with this narrative far-right racists. Not one mainstream media channel or newspaper really gave the fair portrayal of the Muslim men who armed themselves with machetes, swords, hammers, and walked the streets in groups of hundreds, screaming Allah Akbar in every town and city. Yeah? Because they were mobilised and they were lied to by the British government. So they mobilised mobs out on the street who then violently attacked men on their way home from work, beating them savagely, attacking them, smashing their heads in. Police didn't turn up. Literally in Birmingham, the police are there on Sky News. Someone walks past and they're holding a sword, groups of Muslims. So the police know they're there armed. In any normal situation, they come with firearms and say, get on the floor, you're a threat to the public. They let them leave that area, even though the police were there. They let them walk in their hundreds to surround English businesses and innocent pubs and attack them. They beat some man, severed his liver, kicked the shit out of him. And it wasn't for us or for X. No one in the public would know it either. But when you look at our views, they were on 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. So again, all the country are watching all this. They have not solved any problem here. By burying it and manufacturing a lie, and unfortunately for them, we have a social media and it's controlled by a man who loves freedom of speech in a minute, and he's coming out against the British government now. And he knows what they're doing. And he's seen the same lies they say about us. Like, he's now being described as the most dangerous man in the world by members of parliament. Yeah? So he's in the way of their total enslavement of the public. And all this is about, which is my documentary shows, is about them totally controlling the narrative. And with us having freedom of choice and freedom of speech, we can challenge their narrative and say, actually, that's not true. None of the media are going to do it. All the media, and the thing that must show this, just look at today's headlines or yesterday's headlines. They're all the same. Same pictures, same headlines, left-wing newspaper, right-wing newspaper. It's all manufactured. They're literally told, pump this. Here you go, all pump this. Yeah? This is the message we give. This is what we're indoctrinating the public with, that these race riots that weren't happening anyway, it certainly weren't racial, they weren't organised by far-right ideology, but by blaming it on a far-right ideology and far-right groups, they then don't have to discuss the fact that the British public are angry up and down the country in every town city.
Tommy, there's a bunch of questions for you in the backdrop here. Where do things stand now?
With what? So things stand now is, now that they're finished manufacturing it, there's probably no more riots. Yeah, because they were letting, watch the videos. They let them do it. So, and as they was going, I was thinking, so they manufacture a situation, violence ensures. Some of the men, and again, all in black. The first people to attack the hotel, 6 men, all in black, masked up. Well, who are they? Who are they? Yeah. Who are they? Are they government? Who are they? And they've led the riots. They've let the riots go. They've mobilised with lies, the far right analogy. So then forever now, anyone who wants to talk about these problems is far right or English defensively. They've resurrected a dead group. They've mobilised Muslim armies on the streets and let them do what they want. There's been no law enforcement against them again. But everyone's watched it. So the public is still going to be in the angry, frustrated situation. They're turning comments off of everything. Every comment's turned off.
Well, they're also deleting some of their posts that are getting ratioed when the police department prides themselves on the 24-month conviction, and they get ratioed in the comments and then delete the post.
But the best thing for me, we live in a communist state. Yeah, we're under total control. But people still thought we lived in a democracy with freedom. People still believe we have freedom of the press. I know we don't. I've lived through it. So now the America can see it. Your viewers can see it. This topic of conversation is being exposed. But the only reason why it's been exposed, bro, is because of X. The only reason. So
I'm going to have to, I'll give credit. Chris Pavlovsky's sort of like the less starry face of it, but X and Rumble is where.
X and Rumble, but what I mean is, X and Rumble, I don't have the mass following on Rumble, so my mass following.
No, true, and there is a real time news element to Twitter that you get analysis and long format commentary on Rumble, but the immediate stuff, Twitter's a different platform.
Twitter's the source of news. The biggest source of news now in our country, in the world, is X.
Well, it's amazing watching Elon Musk now become public enemy #1, where people are joking but not joking, extradite Elon Musk to England for his posts.
Well, they said that what the Crown Prosecution Service said. If you share a tweet, we can be coming for you. Now, the problem is, like, I know this. So what comes next is I'm sitting here watching, just waiting for a helicopter to pull up there, 10 men to jump out of it and kidnap me and bring me back and stick me in a British jail. And whilst they then still tell everyone, the problem they've got is that there's millions now, millions and millions, who have going to see I haven't done anything. That actually what they're saying is totally, like, where they've got away with for 5 years just doing what they're doing now. I'm thinking, but millions are watching what I'm saying. Millions can see I didn't do that. So you've now got a group of 5 million people who have watched to see that I didn't call for violence. I only called for peace. I made multiple videos saying, stop the violence. We need a peaceful revolution, not a violent one. No one's going to listen to you. In fact, what you're doing is you're undoing our argument. You're undoing the legitimacy of the concerns of the British public by acting like morons. So, but I do, at the same time, what I was saying in the videos is, I understand why you're angry. I was angry when I was 25. Yeah, I understand, but we're in a position now where we've won the hearts and minds of the public. We've won them already. Yeah,
I've been saying that you are a British version of Alex Jones. I remember what I thought of you back in 2018, and the more I just looked into the treatment of you, I was like, this is insanity. And then we got to actually meet, and it's like it's an upside down, totally backwards world where what they said about you is the exact opposite and is more true of them than of you.
And the only reason why people see that is due to social media. So that's why they have to control it. That's why if you mention my name on Facebook, it gets deleted. They can't let people see. It's why I'm censored. It's why we're deplatformed everywhere. So when Elon Musk comes along and gives us back a voice, like they're saying, like I saw the bloke say, well, if Tommy Robinson didn't have an X count, then none of this would have happened. It's like, what do you mean none of it would have happened? What, he wouldn't have come out of the hotel and stabbed the person to death? What, the 3 kids wouldn't have got butchered? What you mean is no one would have known about it. That's what you mean. You mean that we'd have been able to control what the public know, and by the time the public come aware that they're minorities in every town and city, and there's a hostile army in our country, it's too late. So I see our job is to wake the public up. And we talk about Elon Musk. I'll just give you the figures for the 18% of what Keir Starmer got voted in on. 48% of the British public didn't vote. We've been making it very clear. Our cultural movement is going to go into electrify those 48%. Yeah? We're going to give them vision, we're going to give them a sense of belief, we're going to give them an identity, and we're going to give them belief and pride in their country and who they are. And that is terrifying to them because they've spent all this time breaking down our unity, isolating us, making us lonely. And we've come in 2 successful events and gave people sense of spirit with the British spirit is back. Yeah, the lion's waking up. And they saw that. And that is what all of this is about. Everything you're watching now, that's what it's about. It's not just about a few smashed windows. Yeah, it's about them going, crush him, get rid of him. Yeah, we can't allow. We've worked for 20, 30 years to break these. Look, yeah, we can't have them. We've closed the pubs, we've shut them down, we've isolated them, and we've said to them, and here they are in 100,000 mob outside in the city centre, dancing and celebrating to national anthems and patriotic songs. This ain't what we want. That's ain't what we want. So, and once we get that power back inside of us to remember we're the majority, you're the minority. We're not scared of you. And essentially they think, which they keep thinking, these threats of intimidation or threats of imprisonment, it's like, I don't think I am in a bad situation at the minute. I keep saying I'm in a very bad situation. But so are they. Yeah, because you've got 2 options here. You either lock me up for the film that 42, by the time I get to jail, 50, 60, 70 million people are going to watch. They know I reported the truth. Yeah. So if you want to lock me up, there's no faith in your judiciary ever again for those 60 million people. Yeah? They know the truth. You can't lie to them. You can't put your stupid little headline out because they're going to be online like an army of online activists correcting your lie. So you either lock me up or you swallow it. Yeah, which is why I think they're building me up for the riots. That's what they're doing now because I don't think at that time, I always knew if enough people watch this film, they're in a difficult situation for the judiciary's reputation. They're in a difficult situation. But they might not care about that. Maybe they don't care. But even if they don't care, well, you're going to lock me up for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? What, you're going to lock me up? I'm still coming back out.
Tommy,
hopefully.
I don't even want to make jokes to test the juju of the universe. Let me see how many of these I can get through. They want to prosecute us over here. Come extradite this phallus with your own labor. The talk about extraditing people who post elsewhere.
I know what that was aimed at. I believe, Viva, that's aimed directly at me. What this and Keir Starmer in his statement said, you want to whip it all up and then run away.
Oh, I see.
It's aimed at me. from the Daily Mail, I think the whole lot is, I am paranoid, but they're, by the headlines, by what they're doing, by what the police are coming.
Hey, Tommy, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not following you. Magistrate's hair is worse than mine. Was anything even close to this happening in June, Tommy?
So June was our first event, and look, and as I said, if you direct people, which we made appeal after appeal, saying, let us, this is a battle of David versus Goliath, yeah? And David's ready for a battle, and that's what they need to know. So let us, you behave impeccably, yeah? We win. If you don't, they win. So everything they want to tarnish us off. So I made video after video, and we're luckily, which would scare them, is that our support base are listening. Yeah, and I looked, and there was a little bit of a confrontation from lads against lads. They'd had some argument. And when I was on stage, I looked over and I was like, "Fuck!" And they all looked at each other and went, "All right, all right." So the people were listening and said, "We've got a plan. We have a plan here. Our plan is to build a cultural movement, and we want to unify that cultural movement with other groups in other countries. And this has This isn't a British problem. This is a Western problem. They've come at attack. We've been attacked in Canada, in America, in Europe, in every country. And I went to Ireland in March, and I went there. I went there to tell the story of the Irish who were resisting, and sort of inspired me. The Irish inspired me massively, because I went there and I watched the people coming out and coming together, communities organising themselves. And then I went back and I said, I don't want to look to other countries for inspiration. I think the British will lead this, and that was our plan. So our plan was to sit and to get like-minded individuals with influence in one room. And we did. We sat down and brainstormed. Right, each one of us, we told each person, give us your ideas of what you think the biggest problems are and how we solve them. And we sat and brainstormed. And then we brainstormed and we come up with a plan, and we were working on this pledge, the idea of a pledge. And that was the first one. And then the second one, and it's working. And people could see, like, we're going to give you a vision here to follow, yeah? And that vision isn't political. So which we make clear, it's not political. We're going to change the culture of the country, and we're going to unify people. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have parties. We're going to have everything to celebrate who we are. And we're going to bring everyone under that banner. Everyone who loves Great Britain. And it doesn't matter if you come here, even last week, if you love this country and you want to protect it and protect its culture, because what's happening here is there's certain migrant communities that have come and embraced this nation. Yeah, and they're British and they love it. And the government have always tried to tell them that we're against them, which we're not. Yeah. So but all of a sudden, when we've got our account back, my inbox, Nigerian Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, everyone's feeling the same way we're feeling. Everyone loves the country like we love the country. As I said, my mum was an immigrant, and what the government would have seen is, shit, he's united them. Yeah. So we called it Uniting the Kingdom. Our big event on 27th July was called Uniting the Kingdom. You better believe there's 100,000 watching. There's tens of millions supporting, which was our goal all the time, was to work out in the next 4 years before the next election, we want to become a power bank of people where we can say to politicians, unless you agree to this pledge, we're not supporting you, and we're going to actively work against you. So it was about building a cultural movement that had all these visions and all these goals, and they're listening. They know everything, so they're listening to what we're saying, and they're just thinking, crush it. We've got to crush it. We've got to get rid of it, because we want to replace these people. We don't want hard-working British people. We want to just flood the borders. We want the borders open, and we want to bring them all in and just replace them for people reliant on the state. That's what's currently happening. So that's what you're witnessing, and that's why now everywhere I look, I've got guns pointing at me, literally everywhere. I'm shocked by every message of everyone. I think there's a panorama out on Monday. Yeah, I made Panodrama before. So Panorama is basically, again, like the Daily Mail, it's a wing of the British establishment. When they want to build someone up and they want public opinion on their side, they do a real hard-hitting documentary to convince the public that he's Hitler, or convince the public that we need to get rid of this man. So they will put a hard-hitting film out on Monday that's going to take snippets of things. I've already proved how they do this in undercover footage to show that they make things up, they create stories, they tell people what to say. So I'm expecting Panorama to come out Monday, and I'm expecting the reason for that is to build the momentum for politicians to demand, get him. And what about me? Go and get him. Yeah, it's him. And unfortunately, yeah, who knows what comes next, man? But it's not good. It's not good. Not good for me, and it's not good for Britain. None of this is good. The only thing is, you've got really influential people from America calling it Soviet Britain. Well, it is.
No, it's. I've never seen anything like it, where they're priding themselves on these violating due process convictions, wild sentences for words on the internet. I mean, maybe they are bad. That's not the issue. There can be, it's Soviet North Korea style conviction trials, whatever we're witnessing under the judiciary.
We've never seen any of these trials for the grooming gangs. In fact, they're hidden. There's reporting restrictions. There's no live televised setting example.
No, putting their pictures up. It's heads on a pike. I mean, it's the modern version of it.
The grooming gangs, really.
Let me bring up, there's a bunch on Rumble here that I want to bring up here. It says, GBN News is towing the UK government propaganda narrative. London protests against Islamic is labeled pro-immigration because there are Indian Christians, Hindus, and Sikhs there. King of Biltong I'm going to read this. Tommy, I don't know if you can get Biltong up in the UK, but good morning from Anton's free shipping for your Biltong using code VIVA, biltongusa.com, antonusa.com. Biltong is not taxed. Boycott government, buy more Biltong. It's the most delicious stuff on earth.
Is it?
It's like South African beef jerky, but it's soft beef jerky. It's not like the hard, dry stuff that you get in the gas stations. This is from Falling, says, time for the second horse of the apocalypse. Okay, I'm not reading anything that's going to be missed. Thank you for the super chat.
They get you extradited by the British government.
I don't want to go there on vacation. I sure as hell am not. It's jokes until it's not jokes. Entry required says lots of questions in the comments on locals. Please don't treat us like red-hatted. Well, I'm getting there now. Like the Holy Crusades during medieval times, we are in the great age of the Islamic. Once you understand history, you sort of understand a little more there. Oh, there was one more that just popped in. Hold on. Add to stage. What is that one? I can't read that unless I bring it up here.
If you heard any update on Jordan Davies, who got arrested for turning up to the peaceful vigil of 3 murdered children in Southport. He was down to attend court in Wirral. No, unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay, now I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to, hold on, bring the screen up here, and now I'm going to locals. Tommy, you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, I've got some minutes. Right?
Okay, let's do this here. We're going to get some of the questions here. I'm going to go to the tip questions in locals. Once I can organize this properly, tipped and bring this here. Okay, Baomega says, God bless you and your family, Tommy. Been supporting following for 10 years. The only militant action I can recommend is if it comes to is the UK-wide general strike. Peaceful means to bring the government to its knees. Now, if everyone refuses to leave their homes to work, there is nothing the government or cops can do. Well, nationalize things.
With something like that, see, if you built a cultural movement and you built it up and you had the data of 10 million people who are part and aligned with your pledges, yeah, you're going to start doing stuff like that. Yeah? But at the minute, what you put a little video on one social media. So that's what we plan to build up, a movement of activists, of patriots who would come together and through our large network of influencers, we could reach the masses. That's what we planned, and they know that's what we planned. So we're in a fight for survival. We're in a fight for our country, and we're going to fight for it.
Cliff Norman over here in local says, tell them to come on. It won't take us long to force a surrender this time, and we won't need the French to help us. This is going back to the American War of Independence. Cliff Norman says, most of the mess in the West is the rejection of the Judeo-Christian values and ethics that are the foundations of Western culture. Richard Dawkins, the atheist and anti-Christian, was horrified to see churches being replaced by mosques in the UK. He has since come out as a cultural Christian. Elon Musk has since described himself the same way. Whether you believe or not, let me see. Okay, fine. It's important to have Judeo-Christian values. Tommy.
You had, at our 100,000 rally, like it was something big's happening. There's a revival happening. And I think that, look, you don't have to believe in Christianity to understand that the principles and foundations of this nation and why it's been so successful is because it was built on the foundations of Christianity. I mean, the Queen was asked what built this country. She said the Bible. Yeah? Now, when you had 100,000 people chanting Christ is King, yeah, that doesn't mean I looked at everyone as it was happening because we gave the platform. It was after the Olympics. I said, what I watched in the Olympics, when I watch these satanic rituals who desecrate everything to do with Christianity, it doesn't push me away from Christianity, it pushed me towards it. Mm-hmm. I think if you're that intent on attacking it, there has to be a reason. Yeah? And we gave the stage and platform to a priest as well, and he was fire. And you know, since a Christian, there's been quite a few priests who have come out on our side, which is something new, because the Church of England has been totally infiltrated by Marxists who don't even believe, I don't think, in Christianity or Jesus, and they're using it for their political thing. The churches are empty. If every priest would be like the one who spoke at our rally, people would be in church. Yeah? It wasn't weak. It wasn't cowardly. It was strong. And that's what men want to follow. Men want to follow strength. So as I watched it, and I'm seeing all these people chant, Christ is King, I'm thinking, I doubt any of these people go to church as I was watching it. But as we're losing our cultural, our identity and everything, people are looking for something. And I think Islam's been such a success because there's been the void to fill from the destruction of Christianity. And if a country had a strong faith, I don't think it would allow what's happening now, what has been allowed to happen. So I think there is a revival as you're watching it. I'm watching it. I've watched it on the streets. It's like, wow, people are describing themselves as Christians again, even if they're not, I think, at the minute, because they're seeing it as part of the identity of who we are as a nation.
Entry Required has a statement. Tommy has been through the ringer. He has been beaten to the bone. He has endured persecution, and he still stands tall. Tommy is an inspiration to us all. Mr. Entry Required. Cliff Norman asks, is there an equivalent of the National Guard in the UK? Who supports the police?
No, so do you know what's the difficult one is? Because what we're watching, what the police are doing, is tyrannical, yeah? and it's horrible to watch what they're doing against their own citizens. But even whenever I've been arrested, they're all on side. The individual coppers talking to me, apologising, saying, Tommy, like, oh, it's difficult, man. So I always try and, the people governing them, that's who our problems with, is politicised policing. I know people say, oh, they can't say we're just doing our job. There has to come a time when the police officers make a decision, and they should be revolting in the way they're made to police their own people. They should be outraged at the way their police officer was thrown under the bus in Manchester. They should have all walked out over that incident, because they knew, the police force knew what he did and what happened to the police officers before the violent attack, and yet they threw him straight under the bus in a live televised meeting. Well, he'll be under criminal investigation. They would have sent him to jail if we didn't see the video.
Entry Required asks, how has the radical open EU borders distracted from the ongoing EU gypsy and travelers problems?
We don't have a look. I'm not going to slam British travellers or Irish travellers. It's not going to happen for me. I grew up where I grew up in Luton. I grew up on the same road as a gypsy site. Great people, absolutely great people, and obviously problems within the community, like every community has. But great traditional people who, yeah, I'm not going to slag off the travelling community. The Romanian travelling community and gypsy community is a whole different culture, yeah, a whole different ballgame. The travelling community, yeah, there was I'm in a WhatsApp group now with hundreds and hundreds of gypsies in the UK. They were all at our last event. Yeah? They were all there. They're Christian. I know the demonisation they face. I know so many great men from that community. So I'm not going to slag them off.
And we got Cliff Norman, who says our founding fathers understood the danger of authoritarian state, hence the protection of the Constitution, Bill of Rights, particularly the Second Amendment. Jefferson was correct. And then we got the quote of the Tree of Liberty. Tommy, you are young and fit. I am old and gray and can barely walk. I can make pitchforks and torches. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Bet on the spirit, Mr. Entry Required. Cliff Norman says Western culture is being crushed. In the UK, hasn't the foothold been enabled by immigration of citizens of the former British Empire? The two-tier justice system is completely out of hand. And what will be event that causes the population to finally say, enough, Viva, the UK makes Canada look sane?
When I keep saying that, none of us know what the next event. None of us know the defining moment in history which will change the direction of Great Britain or Europe. Yeah, no one knows. Something will happen. Something will awaken people. It wasn't 26 kids getting blown up at the Ariana Grande concert. It wasn't a soldier being beheaded. These things didn't wake people up. It's October 7th, done a big thing in Israel. But will it be a school? Will they target a school in the UK? If they put me in prison and I'm killed in prison, will that be the spark? Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? I think the government are treading a very dangerous line in the way they're treating, especially what their plans are for me, because it's a fine line trying to set an example by me, but then if they go over the line, they're going to create a mark, and that's going to undo them, I think. So
Tommy, my concern is that I thought the moment shifting the narrative or the paradigm in America would have been the miracle of surviving the assassination attempt of Trump, and they suppressed it with social media and like put water on that viral.
Forgotten already, isn't it?
It's amazing.
They literally tried to have him assassinated, stood down the Secret Service, allowed it all to happen, and no one's been arrested, no one's been detained. It's business as normal.
Yeah, now they're talking about Kamala Harris's campaigns, and
Yeah.
it's very, very blackpilling at times. I don't know how you keep the faith. Does the UK have any free speech rights? Asks Doug Leafan. Apparently not. We're seeing that in real time. I mean, it's wild. They put Count Dankula, in jail for the teaching his dog the Zeke Heil
For
salute.
a bit of banter. For a bit of banter.
Yeah,
And context doesn't matter. I went to that court case again. Context doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you're joking. We'll take what you said here, the little snippet, and we'll take away the meaning or the joke, and we'll read this little bit, and we'll prosecute that. So they can change the context. They can manipulate the law. They can do whatever they want.
I'm going to read this. I don't want to get into. I don't know what the conflict is, but it's in the left side with sufficient thumbs up. It says Najid Nawaz is posting all sorts of things about who funds you, Tommy. I am a supporter of both of you and hate seeing this infighting between those who should be on the same side. I wonder if you got any comment about this. I don't know who that is, what this is about.
Najid Nawaz was in prison in Egypt under terrorism charges, if I'm right. But he's in prison in Egypt for being part of Hizb ut-Tahrir, who were wishing to overthrow the Egyptian government and install a caliphate. So, and then the British government worked to get him out, and then they brought him back to the UK, and he got given £600,000 by the British government to set up an organisation and a think tank to counter Islamic extremism. So it was an MI5 funded group who were to de-radicalise Muslims. That was the idea of it, and used an ex-extremist who was counter-extremist to do that. When I left the English Defence League, I went to work at Quilliam, and I went to work for them, and I went down there regularly to meet these Muslims because they all portrayed themselves as Muslims. I started imagining Nawaz when he had a bacon sandwich. So when I started with him, he openly told me he's not a Muslim anymore. But if he says he's not a Muslim, he can't visit Pakistan. And if he says he's not a Muslim, people won't take what he says seriously, and he'll be known as an anti-Muslim bigot. So he pretends he's a Muslim. The other lad there, who's another Muslim, apparently is gay. The other lad, so I sat down with him and I said, "You're lying. You're all lying to everyone. You are creating an image. You're giving people a hope that there's an Islamic solution, because you're saying all these things as Muslims and saying that this is what we need to do as Muslims, whereas the reality is the only reason why you're saying these things is because you're not Muslims. You're not believing in Islam." So Majid wasn't a Muslim the time he was at Quilliam whilst he was doing all that. Now, when he lost his job at LBC, I went to meet Majid 6 months ago. Majid is back in Islam. Trust me. I met the lads he was with. He was talking about his imam, or Majid is back believing in Islam. Now, Majid has come out against me, and they make the claim that I'm funded by Israel. And I can, hands down, I had a financial investigation in 2021 where I was bankrupt. You'll see it in this film. Don't you think if there were large sums of money coming from the Israeli government, Mossad, or anyone else, every bank I had has been investigated, not just by the government, but Hope Not Hate, the far left organisation, took over my investigation into my bankruptcy. They spent £200,000 privately investigating my finances. Don't you think it would have come out? So the reason why they say I'm funded by Israel is because I don't hate the Jews. And I believe it truthfully, that it's kafir, and this is the Muslims saying, first comes Saturday, then comes Saturday, then comes Sunday. First the Jews, then the Christians. Now, if you listen to what Hamas said after October 7th, they said it on October the 8th, that their goal isn't Israel, their goal is the West, to conquer the world. So they said Rome, they named all the capitals of our countries, and that's what they're coming for. So if you look at how emboldened those barbarians got after October the 7th, in every Western nation, calling for jihad in mosques, on the streets, hundreds of thousands taking over universities, they've done that getting excited because they killed 1,400 Jews. What do you really think, any of you people, anti-Zionist people, all the people who call anyone who believes that, I believe the Jews can have a homeland. There's 55 Islamic nations, can't the Jews have one? There's 55 Islamic nations, right? So I believe the Jews can have a homeland. That's what it means to me to be a Zionist. It doesn't mean I put Israel first. England comes first. Nothing else comes first to me. England, then Great Britain. So Israel's not there, But I believe that if all those countries surrounding them, and if you look at the 7-Day War and you look previously, and you understand what it might be like to be surrounded by total jihadist, totalitarian, Sharia-driven shitholes who have all previously said that if they conquer your country, they're going to enslave and take your daughters as concubines. Because that's what they were told before the previous wars by the leaders of the nations surrounding them. So just like in England, if we're sitting in England, and this is for all those people who carry on with their bullshit, if we're sitting in England and Scotland was telling us they're going to rape all our daughters if they take over, and every day there are foreign rockets into England, what do you think we'd be saying to our government? Get rid of them terrorist bastards. And if Scotland had a manifesto And on their manifesto, it said, the final day of judgment does not come until all the English are dead. We'd have something to say about it. Well, that's what Israel face with Palestinians, with Hamas. That's what they face. So if all these surrounding countries come together, Iranian funded, because we've now got proxy armies on the streets of the UK, and they fund all the universities to indoctrinate the next generation. If all these countries come together and they wiped out Israel and they enslaved the Jews and they murdered them, they raped them, you think they're stopping there, do you? Do you really think they're stopping there? Or do you think they're coming for Europe with all their already plantated armies that are already here? All the jihadists who are already on the streets. What do you think is going to happen? So, no, I'm not funded by Israel, but yes, I do believe in their right to defend themselves against jihadists. And yes, I also separate. So I don't hate the American people because of the regime and dictatorship that's controlling that country under Joe Biden. Yeah. So when I look at Israel, if we look and say the Israeli government makes mistakes or does a lot of things wrong, I don't mean I hate all the Jews that live in Israel. Yeah. Israel, actually, I see what the government don't care about the Israeli people. They are the most vaccinated country in the world. Yeah. So to pretend that this is an Israeli conspiracy, I don't blame the Jews. So that's why people don't like me, because they would like me to blame the Jews. And those same groups of people that don't like me because I don't hate black people, and I don't think I'm superior to them for having white skin. Okay, because I've grown up in Luton, and most people I love aren't white. So when any movement I build is built on the basis that I don't care about the colour of your skin. I love Sikhs. I think they're a brilliant community. I love the Hindu community. They're a peaceful community. In fact, Sikhs, if you need any migrants, and I've been hammered for saying this, if you need any migration, if the reason why our borders are open is because of an ageing population, if that was true, the reason why Angela Merkel let 1 million people in, if this was true, you can't get a better community than Sikhs. They're the best property owners, the best business owners. They're still patriotic to their nation. They still hold an identity of their religion. So that's why all these group of people who say the Israel thing, really, they just hate everyone, yeah? I don't. They're pissed off because they'd rather the groups had the ideology that they have. But to all those people, go organise your own demonstration. You'll get 100 inbred morons there, yeah? That's it. And you'll all cover your face because you've got no pride in what you stand for. Sorry, I went on a rant then. That's for all you wankers.
That is fine, Tommy. We got Stephen Britton who says, Tommy, I had VIP tickets to meet you in Edmonton. I'm so sorry I couldn't get to see you there. To see you thanks to the Calgary Police Service. And let me see here. Does Tommy think there's any chance of getting England back from the leftists, and how will they accomplish that from Mighty Pay?
There is a chance. And by the way, even though I've said everything I just said, we need to close the borders, totally, to everyone. We need to close the borders. That's what we need to do. But do I think there's a chance of getting England back? Yeah. But there's no solution now without chaos. They've let it get that bad. They try to enforce the law, or they try mass deportations, or they try any of these things, the Muslim community will riot. Yeah? And we've already seen the threats. In fact, in the last 7 days, you've seen the mobilisation of mobs of Muslims screaming Allahu Akbar, all armed up and tooled up and ready, mate. So that's just a little glimpse. And unfortunately, everything we watched in the last, since October 7th even, is like a trailer for a movie, and the movie hasn't started. Yeah? We've got a hell of a lot of shit coming, all of us. If we want to protect our culture, if we want to survive, if you want to have a survival of Europe, with European states that look like European states, then we've got a massive battle on our hands. And we're governed by people who are intent on ending that and destroying it. So they're not working for the interest of the British public. They're working for the interest of the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, all these other countries, Arab states. They're not working for us. So we have a massive battle. We do not have democracy. It's a facade. It's all bullshit. Yeah. So there has to be some sort of revolution. And from my eyes, it has to be peaceful and it has to be cultural. And we need to make sure the majority of people, through sources like this, are awake to the danger we're in. And more are awake now than ever. So they'll always be in England.
I'm telling you, Tommy, before this chat, I was texting someone. I was saying, I got to get rid of these anger scowls. And this is not going to help me, this 2.25 hours. But Tommy, stick around. We're going to say our proper goodbyes. I'll put all of your links in there like I do every time. But where can people find you and how can they support you?
You can find me. We have a support thing at helptommy.com. I've just got the pricing. Yeah, I'm looking at £130,000 for a 2-day trial. This is how they win as well. £130,000. If I want that is for great representation. Yeah, £130,000. But I need great representation because if I go jail, I'm dead. Yeah. So we've got that. That's helptommy.com. If you want to buy my books, which you hear the story of my life, it's trsilence.com. If you want education on Islam, it's Muhammad's Quran spelled with a K.com for any of the books. I've got a new book out in at the start of September called Manifesto, which is my manifesto of how we save England, how we save Britain. But yeah, and I'm grateful for any support, but other than that, just share the content and support any citizen journalists. So if you see someone who's starting as a citizen journalist, they all need help. If they want to go into it, they all need help. They all need support. Put your support in them. Don't sign up to Netflix. Pick someone who's young, who's going out and trying to get you live streams. Support them, help them, donate to them. That's not just our work. We do important work at Urban Scoop, but there's lots of people starting doing this now. It's not a lonely place anymore. The more citizen journalists, the better.
Amazing. I will put all of those links in the pinned comment on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. I'll put it in the top reply. And locals, well, we're going to talk with locals afterwards. Me, Tommy, thank you. Stick around. We will say our proper goodbyes. Everyone else out there, go and enjoy the day.
Share the documentary. It's pinned at the top at T. Robinson New Era. Share it everywhere. Keep sharing it. If I go to jail, share it 100 times. Keep sharing it.
It's in the pinned comment right now in the chat up here. I hope it is. And it is. I pinned it up there a while back. Tommy, all right. Well, thank you for being here. This is amazing. Stick around. We'll talk. And everybody else out there, enjoy the